All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 2019 WCG VR Championships for Final Assault. My name is Ending Life. With me is Rapid. How are you feeling today?
I'm feeling really good. It's good to be back for another day of these VR championships. You know, yesterday we crowned both our NA and EU representatives, and now we're back to find out who will represent the Asia Pacific region for this game at the Grand Finals in Xi'an.
Yeah, and today is the last day, unfortunately, for picking out the last two players, in fact, out of the 8 that will be going to the Grand Finals, as you mentioned. We have 2 players from Australia, 2 players from South Korea.
Right, and so even though the Asia-Pacific region is very massive, our representatives today will be coming from Australia and from South Korea. And kind of interestingly, even though this information is still the same, so just highlight this really quickly. Basically, these are the dates, and we are on the last day, so it's our APAC broadcast here, which is now. The rules are exactly the same, best of 1 all the way to a best of 3 finals, and then the prize money is $2,000 for first place, and then $1,000 for second, both of those players getting a trip to the Grand Finals.
Yep, and you guys can see the map. We went through this yesterday as well. But for those of you who are tuning in just for the APAC region, you guys can look at the routes of each map. In the beginning, we kind of start off easy with just the 1-lane map, and then we kind of go along with 2, 3, even 3 divided maps. And some maps even have, 2 flanks where a total of 4 lanes are available to kind of attack your enemy.
Yeah, Stronghold is crazy. If we actually do make it to that final game of the final set, that map will take us maybe a very long time because it can be complicated to make it through all those lanes.
Exactly. Yesterday in the NA and EU, especially in the NA where I casted with G-Clef, there were some crazy strategies. Some players that have prepared like immense amounts of, for this game yesterday. And for EU, how was that yesterday?
Okay, so we're starting to see some predominant strategies from both of our regions. And if you're new to Final Assault, don't worry, we're going to walk you through these things. And in truth, everybody's kind of new to this game. So we're all here to learn. And some of what we learned from day 1 is that for North America, we had the emergence of this kind of cheesy strategy with the heavy bomber rush that you would do. So basically, you save up a bunch of bombers, then you send them all at the main base, you bomb it into oblivion, and you win the game without really playing by the rules per se. And then day 2, it was anti-tank guns, killing everything from long range. But let's see what's in store for us here today, Ending.
All right, so this is the tournament tree, or the bracket rather, for the APAC region. We have Tol representing Korea, and Sharu from Australia, and we have Remy from Australia versus Rena, or she actually goes by MC Rena in Korea. She's also one of those caster / MC type of person that is pretty well known in Korea.
She basically does it all, and oh, by the way, she's really good at the game. And kind of a cool little anecdote, because we are broadcasting this from South Korea.
Yep.
Rena is actually in this studio playing her games just a few feet away from us. So it's going to be really cool to see a representative from actually right here playing in this tournament, and potentially even going to China.
Oh yeah, that is that big potentially for these Korean players as well as the Australian players, because out of the 4 players that we have here today, 2 of them, so basically 50% of these 4 players will be going to China to represent their respective regions. But yeah, Rena being here a few feet away from us, if you guys only hear Rapid just casting by himself, it means that I, went to see her live. just left my post.
Well, in truth, there's a lot to learn from these players, whether you're watching them live or, I guess, live on the stream, which is, I guess, what most people are going to be doing. Yeah. We are seeing a lot of differences between these regions, and that's what's so exciting. I think specifically about RTS games is that each region really does have it develops its own kind of strategy, its own way to play the game. So if you're new to the game or you're just now picking it up, there's a lot to learn, and watching some of our pro players can really get you on your way to finding your favorite strategy.
Yeah, exactly. And Korea being, in the past, one of the dominant regions for that RTS game.
Right.
For other games, we are in the game. But anyways, this is VR though. It's not keyboard and mouse, so it can be different.
That's right.
Don't be afraid of South Korea.
That's right. South Korea, a very strong esports region, but Australia becoming stronger and stronger by the day. And so let's actually get into this. Yeah. We've got Remy, who is going to be representing Australia. He's playing the U.S. Armor Division, represented there by Beaumont. And on the other side, we've got a mirror matchup, Beaumont being played by MC Rena from South Korea.
All right, so we have that mirror match. We've seen a lot of mirror matches yesterday throughout NA and EU qualifications, and some of these mirror matches can prolong and be very long games because they do the same thing, they defend the same way. So we'll see what happens here if they will try to bring out a different kind of strategy. But for now, both of our players have that artillery in the middle at that upper hill. Yeah, now one big moment there was that Remy actually targeted his artillery on Rena's artillery first, while Rena's artillery was targeting the wave, and so it's a free artillery kill already for Remy. Not a big deal, but it is going to help him entrench that position on the high ground, overlooking the sole solitary lane on this map. All right, exactly as you say, Rena being one of her artillery being destroyed, she had to pull out another one, which is kind of wasting money compared to Remy, who originally pulled out 2 and still has the 2 artilleries still alive. Right, but when you have to deal with artillery, one of the biggest ways to do that is the Air Force. We already start to see some planes in production from both of our players. Now, you got to be careful early on because they're not very strong individually, but let's find out what's in store for those planes. All right, as well, Remy already has 2 infantry troop trucks down, whereas Rena only has 1 down. So slowly but surely, Remy will definitely get a lot more foot soldiers stacking up. Now look at what we just saw right there. A crate dropped right on top of MC Rena's Jeep, had it there waiting to pick up the extra money, which will help her tech up to hire better units. All right, we'll see how fast she unlocks her 2nd and her 3rd. Right now we see the planes unlocked already in the secondary division here. We'll see when they start producing the anti-tanks at the 3rd division, where it's the most expensive units. Yeah, right. And anti-tank guns were really kind of the theme of yesterday. Oh, look at this. There's actually Remy using those 2 tiny Jeeps to take out the artillery off to the side. Beautiful usage of those small, cheap units to take out the very impactful artillery. All right, so the middle lane fight, as I said, this Chateau Todd only has 1 main lane in the middle, as you guys can see. They are busy deploying, trying to take control over the main lane with the artillery and the anti-tank guns that you see from Remy here. These anti-tank guns are really going to define this matchup. They did it yesterday, and I think they're going to do it again today. They're just firing right back and forth at each other, but it looks like MC Rena's anti-tank gun will be the first to fall, and there it goes. All right, well, this is the perk of pulling out the anti-tank gun first, deploying it first, and it got the first shot off, which means they were, taking and giving fire to each other. But MC Rena's anti-tank gun goes down first. Nothing crucial happening yet, no tower damage, other than Rena actually just taking that first supply to get that extra money.
Yeah, but we are starting to see our players continue to tech up, and one of the things that comes with that tech is potentially some of these really high-powered end-game units. The Calliope artillery is really the big dog that we should be maybe watching for. We haven't seen too many of those because anti-tank guns are so impactful, but we might see that here in the near future, so just something to keep an eye out for as we just watch these anti-tank guns kill everything.
Yeah, so unfortunately in this game, killing the foot soldiers, as you guys may kind of relate to other games where, you kill the foot soldiers, the basic units, you may get some extra money. In this game, that's not how it works. So, all of these units that are just dying, unfortunately, in the middle of the lane by the artilleries, they're not giving any money. But, Remy's anti-tank gun is actually reaching MC Rena's towers. You can see one of the towers going down slowly.
Yeah, you can also see this dogfight with the fighters in the air going up against each other. That's what our observer's showing us here. And it's very important to micro your airplanes. Airplanes are what, if you want to put a lot of control into, you can get a lot of value out of. Because if you just leave them by themselves, they kind of fly in circles and might not do very much. But if you control them, you get a lot of value out of them and can win these fights. And MC Rena's doing a great job with that.
Oh, but look at this, Remy's hill. We have 7 tank Shermans stacked up in Remy's base coming out now to take over this ridge, opposing Remy where she has all her artilleries set up. So if Remy gets through this choke here, this is going to be trouble for MC Rena.
Oh, but it looks like a lot of the artillery fire is actually taking out Remy's tanks, and with all these tanks going down, will he be able to take control of this location? One tank survives, but he's not moving at the artillery. Looks like it will take it out in the end.
All right, well, good defense by MC Rena. She definitely wants to keep hold on that area to constantly create room for her to save up money and produce stronger units, because you see Remy's foot soldiers are actually getting past pretty far, all the way up to MC Rena's base, rather, right in front of that hill.
Well, MC Rena's base is being chipped down by this anti-tank gun, but we actually have our first Calliope artillery on the way. That thing is so expensive. I think it's about 28 bucks that it costs, which isn't actually that expensive. I got 28 bucks in my pocket, but in the game, it's pretty expensive.
Yeah.
It's very fragile, but it deals an incredible amount of damage. And the only thing we're really missing here is some anti-air, because that position is so entrenched, and that's the only thing that Remy needs to control, because he's chipping away at these turrets, about to take his second one down.
All right, well, like you say, the second tower is in danger for MC Rena. We'll see how she decides to act.
We've actually got our crocodile tank out here as well, breathing its flaming fire. It's so tanky, 1,000,000,000,000 armor on that thing, basically indestructible at this point. You're gonna watch it tank up these artillery shots, and yeah, it'll take a little bit of damage, but look at it just plow through everything. The entire position that MC Rena had set up there, completely destroyed.
Yeah, it's destroyed, and as I said, if that area, if that choke was taken over by Remy, it just allows Remy to kind of set up on MC Rena's side of the base, which is going to cause a lot of trouble. But now she knows that it's if she prolongs this, it's going to be dangerous. So she's trying to bring out the units. She's trying to bring the fight to him. Look at all these tanks come out.
Yeah, this is the big movement, but she hasn't had control of the high ground.
Yeah.
And so everything she builds has to run this gauntlet of artillery shots. And look at this Calliope. It's firing raining bombs down on everything, exploding. Remy, he's got complete control of this area.
Yeah, MC Rena bringing out the anti-air. She doesn't want that to go in the front, and I think she should pull it back. If she keeps running it over, tanks can't run over people in this game, unfortunately.
Well, you're correct there. So these are the safety tanks that we have right here, but they're still just as devastating.
We have the sponge wheels.
That's right. That's right. They have nice bright colors and rounded edges. These are not the scary tanks that you might think of, but they are actually very scary in game. And what's happening in game is basically that Remy has such a strong position with those anti-tank guns. He's overtaken these high ground with these tiny Rommel tanks and with the Sherman tanks, and he's got artillery now set up there, which makes it so difficult for MC Rena to move out on the map.
Yeah, exactly. We have 6 Sherman tanks coming from Remy, but you also have to notice that now Remy has 4 infantry troop trucks producing extra units, whereas MC Rena only has 2 on her side. So just the basic foot soldiers being produced on either side. MC Rena is already on the backside.
Yeah, it's important because those control how quickly your waves push. Look here at the crate there right in the middle. Who's going to be the one to pick that up? It's a lot of money at this point in the game, but it doesn't look like either person is able to send a unit there just quickly. You can't pick it up with just basic troops. You have to send a unit there to pick it up.
Yeah, the basic troop waves are way too small. That supply crate is way too big, so they can't hold it. But yeah.
They can't pick it up.
Yeah, they can't.
It's too big for their tiny arms.
Exactly. But maybe when they stack up to like 100 units, maybe they can work together like
those
ants.
Are small soldiers all over again. But anyway, back to the game. It seems like Remy has really taken a major lead here. He's got a lot of this high ground. He continues to push down the lanes. His anti-tank fire is completely devastating. And how is MC Rena going to try to come back from this?
Yeah, she definitely has to do something about these high ground tanks that Remy has placed and stored for MC Rena after taking over her side of the corridor, or choke rather, and she has to take it back. MC Rena has to take this area back on your screen right now, because this is her side of the high grounds where she needs to put her anti-tanks plus her artillery to get in control of the lane.
One of the biggest mistakes that you can make when you play this game is just to send all of your units into the lane over and over again, because then they push in and die. But what Remy is doing, he's actually not sending very many of his units to the lane at all. He's keeping them all on this high ground in these entrenched positions to build up a little bit of an advantage, little by little. And now that's given him a 3-tower advantage, and I think he's about to take his 4th here if this push keeps up.
Yeah, if you notice the troop size, we have 69 versus 19. Remy already has 7 trucks producing infantry units here, and that's just gonna overwhelm MC Rena, even with the basic foot soldiers here.
Yeah, now, if you were playing an infantry commander, then that would give you a lot more diversity as far as infantry goes. But even just the basic troop trucks keep these waves stacking up more and more and more. And that's given Remy such a huge advantage. Saw a little bit of a dogfight there. He's also got the air advantage 3-0. And there's really just not too many advantages Remy doesn't have at this point.
Yeah, Remy, I'm not even gonna say how many units he has. You guys can see for yourselves. But he's just mass producing everything, even the basic units. He's just gonna overwhelm MC Rena with just all kinds of units in front of her base.
Remy tried a little bit of a cute tactic there, running a bunch of jeeps through behind enemy lines. Didn't work. Those are those flaming piles of debris on the ground. So yeah, maybe don't try that one at home. But definitely try the rest of these strategies at home, because they're super effective.
All right, well, this anti-tank has been causing MC Rena trouble from the start, from the get-go. That anti-tank, I think, is probably the first one that
really made. I think it's still the same one alive, It's a good day to be an anti-tank driver. You get to live a long time. So let's keep an eye on what Remy's strategy is going to be for closing this out. He moves the Calliope artillery in and is able to use it to devastating damage on the artillery on the other side.
Yeah, and as the observers show us, you can see where these players are actually looking by looking at, soldiers in front of you. And Remy is in front of MC Rena's base and, just deploying everything, rallying all his units to right in front of her base. And MC Rena, you can see her character in her base trying to produce everything or anything to defend her base.
Now, these flamethrower tanks are very, very effective against infantry, but they're not very effective against artillery. So they get blown up pretty quickly by that Calliope, and so there's still a massive wave of units here. 94 infantry on the board for Remy.
All right, well, so many units. All those infantry units just attacking the tower. Yeah, it does not do as much damage as, tanks or heavy tanks or artillery, but with this much unit being produced, Remy, he has nothing to lose. He can just constantly send chip down slowly, and MC Rena's last tower finally goes down.
That means it's only the base left here, so MC Rena really back up against the wall. These troops continue to push in over and over again, and look at that Calliope, just crazy damage from incredible range.
All right, well, all those Sherman tanks that MC Rena produced for her last line of defense is going down one by one. She had 5, now 2 of them are down. We have 6 Sherman tanks from Remy, probably saving up for one last attack.
Yeah, I don't know if there's any way to deal with this. The base hasn't taken damage yet, but it's only a matter of time until this massive infantry advantage pushes through. Maybe the defense will hold here, but for how long, right? This is going to give it complete map control to Remy, so he can bring all of his forces as close as he wants and set up an almost insurmountable advantage.
Exactly, and now Remy's units are starting to attack MC Rena's command center. This health is going down slowly but surely. What is MC Rena to do here?
I think the answer is to think about what to do in the next game. Because we are about to go there. This base is just taking so much damage. There is a little bit of a rubber band effect at work here where your units pop up and you have the defender's advantage because they just get there faster. You've also got some anti-air here, which will stop the fighters from coming through. And so the tanks are going to build up little bit by little bit. But I don't even think that is going to give her enough time to hang on, because if Remy just focuses this base, I think it's just going to go down.
All right, well, like you said, Remy, the backup units, even though he has a lot, is taking a little bit of time to come, whereas MC Rena is just constantly producing, but we have the base artillery hitting MC Rena's base right straight away.
Yeah, it's not really to deal damage to the base itself, but mostly just to clear out all of the units there. It decimates the forces. There's about 1/10 of them left. And even though there's a few more Shermans popping out, I mean, those aren't really going to be able to save the base. It's going down lower and lower, and in the end, Remy is going to take game number 1.
All right, well, that was definitely from the start. I think that one anti-tank gun that Remy produced slightly earlier than MC Rena just made the difference from the start, where, you know, MC Rena couldn't place any tanks across from Remy's anti-tank, because every time she tried to do so, the anti-tank already placed in place would already be chipping down on her tanks, and, you know, when she stationed it, it blows up.
Yes, that's what happens. You shoot it, it blows up.
Yeah.
You're right. The anti-tank gun's super huge. And even when Rena managed to kind of make this entrenched position with her tanks and artillery, the way that Remy was able to break that, just really just big brain, just sent in all of his tanks at the same time. He built up a big army and then moved it in to sort of blitz this position down. So really good play there by Remy, and he totally deserves to be advancing on to our winners finals match.
All right, well, we have our second match. Unfortunately, right now, one of the players have a little bit of a technical issue.
Okay.
So I think we're going to go on a short break, and we'll be back after a short break, so don't go anywhere. All right, guys, welcome back to 2019 WCG VR Championship for Final Assault. Again, it only has been 10 minutes, but I'm ending life with Rapid. And we did take that quick break where it was not scheduled to be taken because of one of the technical issues we had. We got word that it may actually be resolved, it may be fixed, maybe a little bit longer. So we're gonna have to wait it out a little longer. But let's talk about what happened in that first game.
Well, we recapped it a little bit at the end of that game, but if you're just now tuning in, we basically had our Australian player, Remy, come out with a very strong anti-tank gun position. He was able to entrench that position and use that to just chip away little by little at MC Rena, our South Korean player's towers. And then we had a really cool move by Remy to take out some artillery on the high ground, and then ultimately, little by little, kind of built up a bigger and bigger infantry advantage on the ground with those infantry trucks just stacking troops up over and over again. And ultimately, the waves were overwhelming. They pushed into MC Rena's base, and a big wave of artillery fire finished things off to give the Australian player Remy a victory in our first game to advance on to the winners finals.
Yeah, that's basically it. There's
your summary.
That's a very good summary. I think when you went to school, you book summary.
Yeah. So if you guys had a book report to write on that first game, I just gave you the spark notes. Just write it down. Exactly. It's not plagiarism if you paraphrase what I say. But basically, that was a really cool way to start things off. We kind of saw a strategy that was kind of similar to the EU qualifiers that we had yesterday. But I don't actually know what to expect from our second series. First of all, because we don't know exactly who's going to be playing. Yeah. And so we're going to have a little bit more time to talk with each other and I guess with everybody else out there while we kind of resolve everything behind the scenes and hopefully give you even more final assault action.
Yeah, so basically just a little bit about the players that we're waiting for. The Australian player named Sheru, he's actually a YouTuber, is what I got word from the PDs, the production. And he's a YouTuber. He's preparing himself for this tournament, and go check him out. To be honest, I'm not sure because I actually don't know any of these players from NA or EU other than the South Korean MC Rena, because I've worked with her before in the past. But yeah, so we have that Australian YouTuber that is preparing for the second match. Let's hope that his VR is fixed or gets fixed. But our South Korean, Taejun Jung, his name is Tol, so 3 Tols.
Yeah.
And he's actually a Twitch streamer as well in Korea. And he started off with stockbroking. That's what I heard. He
was basically a day trader, essentially.
Yeah, so he got famous for that because he was showing all his viewers the way he trades stocks. Usually stockbrokers or traders, they kind of have their own information. They don't share too much information because, they have, information is power in that kind of, but yeah, so this Korean dude, he was showing all his power, all his cards, no hidden cards, and that's why, he got viewers, he got fans for doing that, and now he's here trying out for this VR Championships to go to China.
That's a little bit random. If you have to pick from a group of people who's going to be the next esports superstar in VR, I probably wouldn't go necessarily with the stockbroker, but he's here and he's killing it. He's actually streaming this right now. Yeah. So you can watch his perspective or our perspective. Either way, you're going to get a chance to see what this kind of popular streamer out here in South Korea has in store for us. And I'm actually really excited too because, traditionally, you actually mentioned this a little bit earlier, South Korea has a very strong reputation when it comes to esports and specifically RTS. But this is VR, so a lot of things are new about this. You can't just sit there and have high, a number of actions per minute with your hands on the keyboard. You actually have to use your hands to move around in the game. Well, it's not real life, but it's kind of like you're moving around in real life. And the controls are much, much different than a traditional RTS.
Exactly. In the RTS, like I mentioned before, keyboard and mouse, and you sit, you look at one screen, but that isn't the case with the VRs. We have 2 controllers. We have the VR in our eyes. We're turning, we're moving our arms. So yeah, like he said, it's not just all about APM, the actions per minute. It's not about how fast you click, how fast you go here and there on your computer monitor. It's actually about you looking around, having the field of vision, knowing what's happening on all sides of the map, rather than just, sitting down with the keyboard and mouse and looking at a monitor.
That was the hardest thing for me to get used to because I'm used to panning around the map in 2D as I watch it on a screen.
Yeah.
But when you're in 3D for VR, you're looking all the way around. And what would happen is I would forget units that were behind me. So I would have like an airplane like spiraling over here, and I'm just like, where did I put it? I'm looking in front of me because that's what I'm used to doing. And I'm looking around, and then eventually I'll pan back to my base, and there's just a plane right there. And I was like, oh my goodness. I have to actually look all the way around me. It can get really, really hectic. Yeah. And so, especially if we have one of these longer, like you guys in North American qualifiers had very long games.
50-minute game.
And so you really have to keep track of a lot of units. And it's really impressive, at least to me, to see kind of how these players multitask and manage so many things all at the same time.
Yeah, so in that instance where you said you put one of your planes spiraling around in your back, I actually did that too. Like I spawned it, I was like, where did I put it? But like what I did was I didn't scroll back, or with the controller, I didn't move back to my base. I was going in circles, like real life. In real life, I was like circling around because the VR is actually 3D. It's not like you only get like 180 degrees. Like you get all sides here, and we have the sensors in the front and the back, which allows you to actually do what I did, like spin around. But one bad thing about that is when I was spinning around, I spun around one full time, like 360, and the VR wire was spinning around my body too.
Yeah,
so,
a lot of our pro players don't actually move their bodies very much at all. They just use the controllers to move around the map. And speaking of moving around the map, I think we might actually be ready to get into our second game of these qualifiers.
Yeah, so for now on our other screen that we have, our little cheat sheet, we have the games. We're in game, but apparently we just want to make sure that there's not going to be any problems when we actually go into the game. So right now we are in a game, like Rapid said, but this is kind of like a test run.
I gave away our secret, guys. You weren't supposed to know about this. Just forget everything that I said. We're testing things out behind the scene, and hopefully everything works, and we can get back into the game to showcase some more Final Assault action.
Yeah, exactly. Because when we have one player, getting disqualified because of technical issues, we're gonna have one less game for you guys, and it's
you guys want more games, right?
Exactly.
Okay, all right.
We want more games.
Sick. I'm glad we're all on the same page here.
So just stay with us. We apologize for the delay, but this is for the best.
Yeah, that's right. Trust us. We have your best interests in mind. So while we are ensuring that the connection and the controllers and everything are working behind the scenes, we have a little bit more time to kind of talk about what we expect. I think I haven't seen too many mirror matches, and that's what game number 1 was. And so when we get into game number 2, we have the opportunity to maybe see a few differences. I don't think I've gotten to see a whole lot of like aircraft commanders. So like Air Force or Luftwaffe commanders seem to be a little bit overlooked, at least by most of our competitors.
That is true. Yesterday we did see some, whatchamacallit, I think we saw once Nichols division on the side of US. We did see that in the NA. I don't know about EU.
Not really in EU for sure.
Yeah, but, regarding the different styles of play, in NA, there's a player. It's SadlyItsBradley. He played like almost all the characters. Like almost. Like he didn't even I think if he got the chance to play 6 games, he would have played all 6 characters.
Okay.
That's how much he prepared. Like it showed on the game. If you missed it out, go to Discover WCG on Twitch and check out yesterday's NA and EU qualifiers for the VR Championship. But yeah, in the NA games, it was crazy. Like G-Clef and I got to experience all different kind of strategies. We saw, we talked about the cheese strategy, we talked about the heavy tanks, and we talked about the artillery.
Yeah.
But we saw all these different kind of characters, and it was overwhelming us. It was insane.
Yeah, a lot of variety out there. What's the coolest thing about RTS games is that there's no right way to play the game. You've got a ton of different play styles, lots of units, and just ways to use the units in the game itself. Basically infinite. So if you have a play style, it really gives you a chance to express yourself competitively in this space in VR. And this is one of the few times that we have that as an option, because there's not too many games in this space. So I think for Final Assault to come in and just be such a great illustration of the potential that RTS has in VR, I guess that makes it a VRTS. No, that doesn't work if you go for aviation. I'm trying really hard here, guys, but but it is kind of one of the first illustrations of what it's like to play this genre of game in virtual reality. And I think as we're seeing from these games, it's actually really incredible to see what our players are able to do.
Yeah, exactly. The specific controls that you're able to do with you know, all the tanks and the troops and the airplanes, especially the airplanes. I think.
Oh yeah.
When you see a player being able to specifically control airplanes the way they want exactly, they can be insane, they can be destructive. But on the other hand, like Rapid and I, if you produce airplanes and you leave them behind, just wasting gas.
Or you send them to, if you click your airplane onto another airplane, a lot of times what the good players will do is they'll just send their airplane back home, and that drags your airplane into their base defenses anti-aircraft fire. And obviously, then your plane just dies. They have an advantage, and then they send it back and kill all your stuff. So pay attention, guys. Do not forget about your units, because I did that a lot and lost because of it. So there's your PSA for the day.
All right, well, there's a small tip from Rapid's Tip Day.
Don't take too many tips from me, guys. I'm not actually that good at the game. If you have to pick somebody to take tips from, you can actually follow a lot of our competitors on Twitter. Oh, yeah. The main Phaser Lock Int Twitter account has actually tweeted all of their IDs. So if you're interested, you can actually just shoot them a question. They'll be happy to talk to you. And actually, a lot of these guys are kind of on the bleeding edge of strategy, not only just for VR, but for Final Assault. And so, just feel free to shoot them a question. I know I have lots of questions, mostly of what our other players today are going to do, because we've only seen 2 of them.
Yeah, that's true. We have 2 more. We did get through that test run, so let's hope that everything goes smoothly. We don't want any disqualifications. We want all the games that we can get. In the NA, we also got all 3 games for the final matches, even though the winner actually came up with a +1 win because he came up from the winner's bracket. But today we'll see what happens. We want as much games, as exciting as possible. In the first game, unfortunately, Remy did kind of overwhelm MC Rena, so we'll see if MC Rena... Oh, this is double elimination, by the way, so even the first 2 games that we see, the losers will play again, have a chance to go up again, and have a chance to go to China. So just because MC Rena lost, any of you fans out there that's watching this broadcast for a Korean player, she's going to be playing again after this game, so, don't worry about that.
Yeah, that's right. There's more opportunities for our players to play. It is just best of 1 all the way up until the finals, and even the finals can kind of be best of 1 if the player from the winner's bracket wins his first game, because he starts with that 1-game advantage. So, what's so interesting is that usually best of 1s are repetitive, but we change the map for each one of the games. So maybe you've got a map type that you just don't really have a good idea about how to play. You don't have a strong strategy. It's just not your map for whatever reason. Well, if you play later on, say you lose your first game, you get a second chance down in the loser's bracket, and maybe there's a better map that suits your play style. So a map with more high ground, more fortification, more options if you like to try to flank around your opponent. Some of the bigger maps with more lanes to move through give you a lot more opportunities and might help your play style, help get you that win that you need to get closer to qualifying for China.
Yeah, exactly. And, the different kind of maps, not only the routes to your enemy line is different. You have multiple lanes, like I mentioned before, but you also have maps where you have no high ground at all. So sometimes, artillery becomes useless because everybody is just using heavy tanks, anti-tanks, tank destroyer, and just going with that powerful build rather than, taking over a certain terrain with the higher ground to kind of gain control slowly, to push slowly. Yesterday in NA, we did see one of those maps where there was no high ground at all, but we had 3 lanes and, 2 of the main lanes and 1 in the middle. So, we saw players kind of going around, flanking around with fast units, with the trucks. And no artillery, just super fast Sherman tanks, just tank destroyers, heavy tanks, just pushing through bulldozers.
Bulldozers. That's the next unit we need, guys. Well, we might be bulldozing our way into our next game here. It looks like our players are ready, and here we go with our second quarterfinal game, or our upper bracket semi-quarter X-finals. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, but this is their first game. On your left, we have the Korean streamer Tol. He's playing the Gallons division, the German infantry troop. And Sharu from Australia. On your right in blue is playing the Simmons division, the U.S. infantry division here. So we have two infantries going up against each other.
Yeah, now there are some subtle differences. For instance, Cheru is going to be playing the U.S. infantry, and so somewhat surprisingly, the U.S. infantry get the most powerful bomber in the game, and that is going to be the Flying Fortress as their big one. That's also one that you can use for kind of that cheesy strategy we saw on day number 1 if you build up a bunch of them. But for the most part, we should see the early game look pretty similar, although I will say that the addition of the German bazooka infantry might actually kind of tip the scales.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Right now, Thor, we'll just call him Thor. We have Thor on the red already producing 5 troop trucks just straight away, whereas Cheru only produced 3, and he's opting to add that troop backup with Sherman tanks as well here.
Yeah, this is really weird. So most of the time, you leave the troop trucks in your base, and it creates this gradual wave that pushes out onto the map and builds this up. But when you send them out onto the map, this is a very, very fast early rush, and I'm really excited to see what impact this has, because he's reinforcing it with a bunch of these cheap Jeeps. Rhymes unintentionally, but the idea is you have a bunch of very fast, very strong units that are weak individually but strong in these high numbers.
All right, well, we have Dole already producing 2 bomb troop trucks here. So now Cheru having those infantry troop trucks in the middle, like Rapid said, if they get destroyed, that's going to be, causing Cheru a lot of money. So he has to defend that. He wants that early advantage in lane. So we'll see if Cheru will be able to do so, or if Dole will break through with this artillery tank that he has on top of this hill.
Well, Dole was actually able to get a big advantage there because there were 3 Jeeps that just stopped short of dealing damage to those artillery. And I think one of the big things that we're seeing here is that these Panzerschrecks, or big bazooka troops from the German infantry, are actually really powerful and something that you should not take lightly. And I think Cheru's strategy of using all of these infantry trucks is starting to stall out.
All right, well, at least for now, we have Cheru kind of pushing all the way in front of the hill of Dole's base. But Dole, he's just sending the bazookas out onto the lane. He's focusing on this high terrain where, unfortunately in game 1, Rena's high terrain on her base was taken over by her opponent. But this time around, Dole, he doesn't want to make the same mistake that MC Rena did. He is focusing a little bit more on taking and making sure that high terrain on his side of base is safe.
Now let's see who's going to be the first to pick up this crate. It is going to be the motorcycle sidecar coming in from Dole to get that extra money. So that's going to be really helpful when you're going for an early game rush strategy. But he's transitioning, okay? So he had the early rush that's given him this big buildup in the middle of the map. Now that might die off to some artillery fire, but he's transitioning, so he's getting some artillery. He's getting some of these bigger high-tech units that might help him out a little bit more.
All right, well, Dole definitely has control over this high ground. And if you notice, Cheru's 3 infantry troop trucks have blown up. So now Dole, still having 7 infantry trucks and 2 bazooka trucks in his base, have been producing massive amounts of units. You can tell by the numbers at your bottom left and your bottom right here. Cheru is in trouble now.
Yeah, this is a very difficult situation to be in, but it's not insurmountable. So one way to come back from this is to either build up a lot of troop trucks in your base and just little by little you start to even out the waves. One other thing that you can do is try to focus on the Air Force, and so you're going to see a lot of emphasis in the air here for Cheru to try to win back things from the air, because there's no anti-air from Dole.
All right, well, Dole right now, there we go. Right next to his artillery, he had that supply, and he gets that extra money. We don't see neither of the players kind of leaking or wasting money here, so everybody is well spent here, producing units nonstop, especially on the side of Cheru. He has to still be defending because Dole is still pressuring him right in front of his base.
Yeah, it's very, very close. Now, we haven't seen too much damage to towers. Cheru has a little bit of chip damage done to that, but it's not really a big deal.
Yep.
The bigger deal is if you just look at the total amount of infantry that's out there on the map, it's just massive as far as Dole's advantage here. So he's got a bunch of those Panzerschrecks or bazookas out here, and the infantry advantage is just kind of growing a little bit insanely if you just look at how many troops are starting to build up.
All right, well, right now Cheru is in trouble. He's doing whatever he can. You can see the money on the side of Xiru. He's spending every last dollar to try to push Dole away, whereas Dole is saving money for a big unit. So $28 unit maybe. He might go for a base artillery, nuke rather. We'll see what Dole decides to do. There we go. Okay, so he does produce one of the expensive aircrafts on his side.
Yeah, that's right. So it's not really a super, I guess, common to see the high-level aircraft, at least from the German army. But hey, he's got one, and he's going to be sending that out there. So let's see exactly how he wants to use that. You can see him drawing those lines to say, look, go bomb here.
Exactly, but look at all these artilleries. So Dole right now, he has sent up, I think, 2 artilleries and 3 heavy tanks to back it up, and it's just gonna pressure him from the front. 100 infantry units. All right, so this is the first time for me after casting NA and today to see 3-digit infantry foot soldiers on the map.
Yeah, just a crazy advantage here, building it up, and it's clear that Dole's strategy of keeping these waves just building up over time is really going to hit here. He's just going to mow down this base instantaneously and punch his ticket to the semifinals.
Wow, that was a little bit over 6 minutes, but the amount of pressure that Dole has put on him was crazy. I think it was like a revenge for getting Xiru in the beginning. He had the 3 troop trucks in the front pressuring Dole early game, and Dole, was getting pressured all the way up to his hill in front of his base. But right after Dole started producing the bazooka troop trucks, right? The 2 of them started to push out the area damage coming from the bazookas. Slowly, but surely, destroyed the Xiru's infantry trucks that were stationed in the middle of the lane. And after those were destroyed, the pressure from Xiru was gone.
Yeah, I mean, Xiru did try that very aggressive early start, and I like the idea, right? It's can really catch your opponents off guard if you move your troop trucks out of your base into the lane, because then the reinforcements are just right there. So it gives you kind of that home field advantage, but outside of home field, right? But unfortunately, it just barely didn't create that critical mass of units, and then Dole was able to build up his own kind of counter push with a bunch of infantry units, because his troop trucks were way back in the base. Oh, by the way, they're bazookas instead, so you can't really bring out any of the Sherman tanks that you might to have that stronger unit to help your infantry waves push out.
So, when you have 100 riflemen versus, let's say, just like 30 bazooka people, bazooka's gonna, one shot of good bazooka is going to kill 10 or maybe even 20 units at once. So, that's what Dole did. He saw that Xiru was pressuring him with just regular infantry units. So he went and upgraded, unlocked the bazooka trucks. And when the bazooka units started to come out, they just massively murdered all the infantry units, and he got the chance, he had the opening to start pressuring Xiru. And when that pressure started happening, Xiru, he tried to defend it off with his artillery, but we saw that Dole was taking all the high grounds in front of his base and in front of Xiru's base. And when that happens with artilleries, I don't know.
It's hard to come back from that, for sure. Yeah, there was just such an overwhelming advantage there at the end that it was just kind of a foregone conclusion. But hey, it's really impressive that he could get to that place because we've never seen a player build up quite that critical mass of infantry.
Yeah, so that's going to be crazy. I want to see what happens in the next game. Like I said, Xiru is not out. He will be going up against MC Rena, but we'll see if Xiru kind of learned from his mistake, I guess, of putting the troop trucks in front of the lanes.
But that's not really a mistake per se.
Well, he wasn't able to follow it up.
Well, the follow-up with these cheap Jeeps and things always wasn't really able to create this critical mass, because what you want to do with a reinforcement style push like that is create this big ball that builds up and then just eats everything else across the way. Unfortunately, it feels like in Final Assault, there's too many ways to deal with a big clump of units early on. So things like just artillery. So you build up a big clump, a couple of artillery shots hit it. Okay, well, it just disappears. And specifically, troop trucks are very vulnerable, especially against, bazookas. So if they start to get hit by those, they blow up super fast.
Yeah.
And if you're trying an early rush that's where you have the key unit of the troop truck reinforcing and that dies, it's like, well, you know, there goes the neighborhood.
Yeah, there goes the neighborhood. But yeah, so far, the first 2 games have been pretty straightforward. We haven't seen any crazy flank strategies or crazy cheese strategies yet. But, you know, we may get to see them soon because now after losing and winning, players are getting more desperate to actually win to get into the top 2 at least to go to China.
Well, right. So the top 2 do go to China.
Yeah.
But if you're in the lower bracket, then you really have a lot on the line here because you have to win now. Because if you don't, then you're just out.
Yeah, you're out.
Then you go home. Well, I guess most of our players are playing from home, except for MC Rena is playing from the studio here.
Yeah.
And so I wouldn't expect that there's, it's not like there's no hope left for our players. I still do have that chance to come back. I'm really interested to see if they will change up their strategies for these new maps that they have to play to keep their tournament hopes alive.
Yeah, exactly. And, new strategies is always welcome because this is a fairly new game. And, when I saw Bradlley go, like we talked about this before, when he went all different kind of strategies on all different maps and he showed us new ways to play certain characters.
Right.
And that just amazed me. And I'm hoping to see at least a little bit of that today because I don't think any of the 4 players today here will show us or will get the chance to show us like Bradlley did because Bradlley, he got to play a lot of games because even though he prepared a lot of different kind of strategies, he won the first game and then he lost the second game and then he had to go back into the loser of the winners. So he had to play. He played the most games, basically, and he was able to show us all different kind of strategies. So I don't know if we get a player here today once again doing that, win-loss kind of thing. Yeah. Maybe we'll get to see different kind of strategies. But so far we've only been through 2 games, and now the real test begins, especially for the losers bracket.
Yeah, and we are looking forward to getting into our losers bracket. We'll have that game coming up next, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so we are going to go into that game. And let me think. Wait, I'm trying to remember. It's going to be the losers, which would be Cheru versus MC Rena, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm trying to keep track of everything. If you guys want to keep track of everything along with us online, you can either do that by following the channel that you're watching this on, which is either YouTube or I believe the
Discover
Twitch. Discover WCG, which is our Twitch channel as well. And all the VODs go up immediately after the show, so you can always rewatch them if you missed something or just want to copy some of these strategies. You can also head over to Twitter at PhaserLogInt. That's the developer's Twitter page. It's got all the information from a lot of our early qualifiers. You can follow us on Twitter at RapidCasting and Ending Life with a 1 if you are interested there. And without further ado, I believe we might possibly be ready for our next game.
All right, well, on our cheat sheet, or cheat screen rather, we do have the in-game screen for us. There we go. We are in the losers bracket here. Cheru from Australia versus MC Rena from South Korea.
Well. What have we here? A difference in commanders, but not only that, a difference in map and a difference probably in complete strategies.
All right, so right now, Cheru is playing the Wolves division from Germany and MC Rena on the Bombons division from US. We'll see what kind of strategies. It's not a mirror match today. We have different map Copal Mines here, so we'll see what happens here.
Yeah, I hope we get a chance to overview a few of the really interesting parts about Copal Mines because there's lots of ways to go around the edges, but the middle can be the most important. If you neglect that, then you can wind up having a really difficult time. So let's keep an eye on what's going on here. So we've got a lot of early units. Neither of our players have teched up to Tier 2 yet. Starting to just go with a heavy reinforcement strategy. So we've got a lot of these panzers in the lane, but the artillery from the high ground really giving MC Rena a lot of value.
Yeah, this we have that truck protecting this artillery from the heavy tanks coming from Xi'an, and this value, it will add up because it will force Xi'an to waste money to produce extra units that have been destroyed by this one artillery that's been causing trouble from the get-go.
Now, one thing you might be noticing there is that the pathing from the units actually isn't just straight down the lane.
Yeah.
You can actually have units on high ground shooting through the walls because terrain is not a blocker here. You can shoot an artillery shot straight through a building, through a wall, anywhere. The bullet goes out, it hits. You can't explain that. But the big thing is that it's going to still deal damage. So you gotta be watching out for some of these sneaky positions players put their units in.
Yep, exactly. And for a quick reason, okay, so unfortunately I got word that we may go to a regame, hence we are back on the screen. Yeah, so I guess there was a difficulty, but it's good to get a remake early game before anything critical happens, before, you know, a tower goes down or you know, anything like that. So yeah, we're gonna get a quick remake. I don't think it will take a long time, but yeah, we will get that quick remake. Let's hope that, you know, there's no problem, nobody gets disqualified, because we already almost had that.
Well, so the great thing about getting in and out of games is it's super easy in Final Assault. So when I was out here practicing with our friend G Clef a couple days ago, we actually got a chance to play, like, I don't know, 6, 7 games against each other, and we're able to just get out of a game, into a game, out of a game, into a game. So if you really like this game, it can be really, really fun to play. You can just play so much because it's really easy to get in and out of a lobby. And yeah, we didn't have any problems joining that. So we should be able to get our competitors right back in here and ready to go for our next match. And if you're curious about how the rules work for this, then basically if there's been no structural damage done after a certain amount of time or before a certain amount of time, we can just restart the match if one of our players has technical difficulties.
Exactly. And of course, both of the players have to agree on that as well, because you know, yesterday there was one issue where there was a tiny bit of damage gone into one of the players' towers, but you know, we still got a remake because, you know, it was only, I think it was less than 2 minutes into the game, but like we had an early push and like it did it scratched the tower, but we still had a remake because of a difficulty that one of the players could not continue with. But yeah, you know, the most important thing is both players agreeing, saying that, okay, so nothing critical has happened, we will get that remake, and, you know, we are getting that remake right now. Let's hope that there is no problem this time.
I'm going to go ahead and promise everyone that no. I would never do something like that. We are going to get everybody in the lobby. We can see the players entering in on our secret screen that you're not allowed to see. But I'm giving away all of our secrets here by saying that the players are getting into the lobby. We're one away from being able to start this. We've got our observers, our players, and everybody's joining us. We're joining us, and you all out there in internet land are joining us as well. You can join us in Twitter land if you want to tweet us your predictions, if you have some like crazy ideas about who's going to win. You know, I didn't really know too much about the players starting this out, so I'm glad that we do have these qualifiers. If you have players just show up in a grand finals match, then maybe you don't really know what to expect. But because we've gotten a chance to broadcast all of these qualifiers, it's really cool that Phaser Lock has said, okay, well, let's build up these player storylines. And then when everybody gets to China and we have like the big finals, that's where you really see everything kind of come together. You get a chance to know, hey, this guy's got this really powerful strategy. That's what he's going to be trying to do. How is that going to work against the other players who each have individually strong strategies of their own?
Yeah, exactly. All these player introductions that we are building up for the grand finals in China is actually working out pretty well. I'm already a fan of SadlyItsBradley, but you guys may be a fan of Dole, who actually cleanly beat Xi'an in that first round just now, if you guys had the chance to watch it. If not, go back to the VODs, watch it. The NA and EU qualifiers as well, because all these players, you know, as people, we have different things in mind. You know, some people may like doing the micro controls, like the specific controls. Some people may like the mass productions of just small units, the infantry and the bazooka units, like Dole has actually shown us. So, you know, everybody has different ways. We saw Cheeses with the bomber planes. Like, you know, he was one of the players in the NA was willing to sacrifice his frontline defense, like his towers were going down, but he was just stacking up on bomber planes to just one-shot his opponent, even though it did backfire.
Well,
it's a big surprise. But yeah, what I'm trying to say is all these players have different styles of play, so you guys can pick and choose which one you want to support.
That's right. You can support your players. You can actually imitate your players by trying this game out yourself and then seeing how hard these strategies are actually to execute.
Yeah.
And that's the coolest thing is when you watch these players play on stream, you might think, well, I don't think they're doing this correctly. I'm going to do that myself. And then, you realize the folly of your ways because it is actually pretty hard to execute a lot of these strategies because a lot of them rely on you building up a bunch of units and then using all those units, which can be very hard to do. And so can getting into games. But we have finally gotten that game ready for you, and I believe we're about ready to start our third game of the day.
Yeah, so basically he's just giving you a little cheat sheet. You guys shouldn't know until we're actually in the game.
I said I believe, and my belief is rewarded.
All right, so this time we have a little bit of a character swap. Both of our players are on the Beaumont division from the U.S., so maybe that was the issue, because Sharu might have not wanted to play this. Might have not wanted to play the Wolves division. Instead, he wanted to play Beaumont's division.
I don't blame you. If you try to play a tank-centric strategy against Beaumont, it really doesn't work out because the anti-tank gun literally lives up to its name. It's so long range. You can't really rely on heavy tank armor to sustain through the shots of an anti-tank gun to get into range to be effective.
All right, so this time, the strat seems to be pretty similar here. Sharu just producing Sherman tanks. We have MC Rena building up the troop infantry trucks here. So I guess even with Dole from Korea and MC Rena from Korea as well, they like to kind of play it safe in the early games where, they place the troop trucks in their bases to slowly and gather up infantry units and then go out with the artilleries and the heavy tanks later on, whereas we have Sharu building and stacking up on those cheap Sherman tanks.
Yep, and I actually don't think this is bad at all to sacrifice a little bit of health on your towers, because while your towers are taking damage, you're killing the things that cost money to do that damage to it. And it's not like destroying the towers is the end of the game. No, it's just a little bit of base defense damage. And so that's going to allow MC Rena to build up all of this heavy artillery, to keep that able to defend, and then to maybe slingshot out behind that with a bunch of powerful units.
All right, well, like you said, she is starting to defend everything that she's like, all right, I'm done taking damage. I'm prepared. She brings out the artilleries and the small tanks to defend the artillery. But as you notice, MC Rena taking those damages early onto her tower shows that the middle lane is very short from Sharu's base to MC Rena's base, vice versa. So the main lane in the middle is very short. We can send units quickly to back them up to reinforce them. So this time around, we won't have any big units without any support.
You're right, but at the same time, it's not just about that middle lane. You can see a couple of tanks from Sharu moving towards the northern side of the map. They build up a big wave, but then ultimately the artillery advantage is still there for Rena. She's able to stop that from moving in, but the tower's still taking damage here, and even that troop truck that's set up right behind it might be in a little bit of danger too.
All right, so that moment that we just saw on screen, that's actually the longer lane on this map, where troops have to go around the outskirts of the town. So we just saw that MC Rena didn't really have any defense for that side lane. So yeah, Rena is doing a great job defending her main gate, but her side gate is actually taking quite a bit of damage here, and MC Rena is actually using that artillery to get rid of that tank here.
Does that tank take basically no damage? Oh my goodness, that's comical. It took 4 shots straight to the dome and just stood there. Wow, I wanna be that tank when I grow up.
You wanna be that tank? Okay. Well, yeah, we did see the power on that tank as well. But look at this, MC Rena finally defending her side lane, going around the long lane here with some heavy tanks here. But now Sharu is going back and forth. Now he's on the other side of the side lane, trying to take down this tower. 2 of these towers on the side, or actually this is the main gate, is taking a lot of damage from Sharu. So Sharu is just keeping MC Rena busy on the side and the main.
Yeah, really busy everywhere. Finally, one of the Shermans coming out of MC Rena should be able to take out those artillery that are sieging. But look at how much damage these turrets have taken. 3 towers down to very, very low HP. And finally, this artillery is going to be dealt with, but at what cost, right? It's already dealt so much structural damage.
All right, well, we need fire extinguishers in this game. We have 2 towers on MC Rena's side burning up. You want to take that fire out. But yeah, unfortunately, fire doesn't do damage over time here. So
yeah, I mean, we don't have Smokey the Bear in the game, so if it did deal damage, we'd be in trouble.
Yeah, but now Xi'an, this lane that we see here, we saw MC Rena a little bit before, kind of trying to pressure Xi'an from the side lanes. Xi'an is counter-attacking now, and this main gate here on the side of MC Rena, you know, the observers are coming back here over and over again because Xi'an is constantly pressuring this side of the map for MC Rena, so he is doing a very good job dividing MC Rena's focus on the side lanes as well as the front gate.
Yeah, divided focus can split troops in a way that, you know, makes everything kind of crumble and fall apart. But we are starting to see kind of the game progress to the next phase. Somewhat uniquely about this game, we've stayed on tier 1 units the entire time. No airplanes at all, no anti-air. We haven't even gone to anti-tank guns, which you and I talked about being so powerful in this matchup. When it comes to Beaumont, that's his unit. But we've just been playing with only early game pressure this entire game.
Yeah, and as you were saying that...
Yeah, okay, all right.
No, I'm not saying you're wrong. As you were saying that, you know, we were staying on that cheap units, they probably both heard you. We're like, all right, you want some big fat units? All right, we'll give it to you. And we have that anti-tank on the side of Xi'an. We have the Calliope on the side of MC Rena.
Yeah, but we also have one of those crocodile tanks, the big flamethrower boys. But those... I feel like are a little bit out of place here because they died to both of the other big units we talked about.
Yeah.
But they are so good at pushing waves of troops in. You got a bunch of infantry, doesn't matter. They all burn up.
All right, we still do stick to a couple of Sherman tanks here. So talking a little bit about the style of play that these players have. Fortunately for both of them, they both aren't focusing too much on the basic infantry troop trucks here. We only see that they have 2 each, so we're not going to get some massive infantry push like we saw from the previous game.
Now, let's keep an eye here. We do have those crocodiles moving in. The Calliope, though, should be mobile enough to escape here. The anti-tank gun, I thought it was in a little bit of trouble, but nope, it's still staying alive there and firing away, taking out a few of these annoying little Shermans that are in its way. I think if you look at the base defenses, you know, Cher is the first one to lose a turret. MC Rena has 2 that could easily go down.
All right, well, getting 1 or 2, even 3 at this point where we have a total of 6 towers. You know, a couple of towers being down isn't a big deal, but look at this. MC Rena, this is what happened to her when she went up against Remy in the first game. But now she's giving it back, right back to Xi'an, placing this anti-tank gun to do the long-range damage onto Xi'an's towers.
Yeah, right, but there's an anti-tank gun on both sides, so let's see which is going to be more effective. You can see Chero trying to get hers in position. It's just really hard to find a good angle there.
All right, well, we do have the Crocodile pushing on the side of Xi'an, on the side lane's flank. We'll see if that will cause MC Rena to pull some of her units back to defend, and it seems like she is doing that right now. You can see her hand kind of pulling back a couple of units because she sees not a huge push, but a pretty big enough push for her to kind of pull some of her troops back.
Yeah, but this push just gets completely shut down. That anti-tank gun's so good against the crocodiles. You try to set stuff on fire, it doesn't matter. If you get hit by that anti-tank gun, and so that entire push, those very expensive units, destroyed.
All right, well, this one crocodile is coming out again. I think this, Xi'an is sending the crocodile straight for the anti-tank gun, I think. I don't know if that will stay alive. You see it on the far middle, on the top. It does get pretty close.
It gets close, but no cigar. It will fire once, but then explode in a blaze of glory. An anti-tank gun still alive.
All right, well, blaze of glory. It does explode, and this side lane action has been insane. We have seen Xi'an kind of push out, and then Rena retaliating. So right now it's a turn for Rena to go up and push and pressure Xi'an. But this has been going back and forth, so I'm not going to say which side is going to win, but Xi'an has 2 towers down now.
Oh, look at these Calliopes. They're so powerful. We're starting to see the accumulation of all this endgame wealth. This is it's just starting to get overwhelming. MC Rena, look at how low her turrets are, but it doesn't matter because she's the one with the huge advantage right now, and I don't even think that those should take much damage for a while. Really good position here, and now she's solidifying that with not only this artillery, but a lot of troop trucks moving out as well.
All right, MC Rena has 6 tank Sherman
Eight.
tanks.
9.
Oh my goodness, she's just
10.
She's just mass producing right now.
And this is a strategy we actually saw from the early rounds of our EU qualifiers, where when you need to close out a game, putting a bunch of Sherman tanks makes that wave so dense, even if you're running into anti-tank fire, they just don't have the DPS to take them all out.
Yeah, but right now, unfortunately, what we're seeing here, we have this artillery in Sharu's base taking out the Sherman tanks. I think MC Rena should have spread them out a little bit because they are taking area damage altogether. But look at this, 3 crocodiles in the back. You see that flame ready to be fired. But these 2 Calliopes have been causing so much trouble for Xi'an.
I mean, yeah, the wave just basically disappears. Here, finally, is all of that armored strength running right down, I guess, the southern side, trying to strafe it with our first airplane in the game. But I mean, those tanks just don't take that much damage from aircraft fire. Look at that, the tower just evaporating. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 towers, all dead.
All right, so now MC Rena, all she has to do is go in and get rid of that anti-tank, bring in rest of her units to go attack on Sharu's command center. But on the other side, Xi'an should be producing some units. This is not over yet. We have seen some devastating comebacks, but
I think it might just be over. Yeah, this is just way too much. All those tanks, 13 Shermans in total, will be enough to take that down. Congratulations to MC Rena, who will eliminate Xi'an and advance on in our bracket.
Yep, unfortunately for Xi'an, this is it. And now MC Rena has to wait for the winner's bracket to duke it out. We have Remy versus Tol Tol Tol. So these 2 players are the winners of their first matches. So now we may see some very close games. In this loser's bracket and the first couple matches, we have seen a little bit one-sided matches from time to time. But now we have the 2 winners from Australia and South Korea. And they have to play, and the loser will be going up against MC Rena once again.
Yeah.
But this next game is going to be insane.
Yeah, there's a lot on the line here, especially because the winner of our next game will get a trip straight to the finals. They'll get that 1-game advantage, which puts them 1 game away from $2,000 and a trip to Xi'an, China for the WCG VR Championships.
All right, so supposedly we're supposed to kind of, we could have actually gone for a quick break, but since we had that early technical issue with that extra 10 minutes that we took, we're going to just go straight into
No breaks allowed.
No breaks allowed, just games after games after games is what we want.
Okay, well, we are already getting into the lobby for our next game here, and that means that we are just going to keep the final assault action coming. Eventually, there will be a truly final assault, but we're not there yet.
No, not yet, but almost there. We're going to have Remy versus Tol 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 from South Korea and Australia, so we're going to have this winner's bracket. I want to see, I'm going to be honest here, I don't want to see a mirror match because when we see a mirror match, we just see the same units doing the same damage, the same kind of things on either side. And we have seen some exciting mirror matches in the past, but not as exciting where we have different types of units coming out from both sides, kind of countering each other back and forth. That's actually the real fun in this game. So we'll see what kind of characters they decide to pick.
Yeah, I like non-mirror matches. I like wacky strategies with weird characters. But players, kind of their job is to find like the safest, most boring, strongest broken strategy to use. And maybe that's really boring to watch. But I mean, if you want to win the game, you got to do your best to do that. And sometimes it's slow and steady wins the race. Sometimes it's not exciting, but sometimes it really is. So I'm really just excited to see what our players have in store. Talking about our winners match ending, what are your thoughts about this clash in strategies? Because it seemed like Dol 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 actually made a very huge ball of infantry and then was able to push across the map with overwhelming numbers, whereas Remy didn't do that at all. He just set up an anti-tank gun, protected it, did massive damage that way. Yeah,
so Remy is kind of a person that wants to kind of get the spend the least amount of money on defense, and then save up, and then go with that massive heavy tank and the artillery and the Sherman tanks as well. Big units is Remy's thing from what we saw in the first game, whereas Dol, as you mentioned, loves to build a massive amount of cheap units coming from the troop units, the bazooka and the infantry. So, but I'm pretty sure that they could stick to their same strategy, but Remy as well as Dol probably saw each other's matches in the previous matches. So I don't know if they'll stick and do this exact same thing, but you know, who knows?
Who knows indeed? Well, us soon is the answer to your question there, Ending Life, because we are about to get into our winners finals match coming your way. It's Dol from South Korea against Remy from Australia.
All right, so South Korean Dol will play the Gallons division from German, the infantry, and Remy from Australia will stick with the Balmont's division here on the side of the US. And this is the map that we just saw MC Rena and Cheru play. We have 6 towers. We have a short lane in the middle and 2 side lanes on either side. So a 3-lane map. We'll see what these 2 players decide to do.
Yeah. So some of the featured points of this matchup are going to be different infantry from both sides. So you're already starting to see some bazookas or Panzer Shreks being built by Dol. Those are those bazooka troopers from his side. And those are very powerful because one of the biggest ways to snowball a wave is to put some of these tiny Sherman tanks into the wave itself. And there's not a whole lot that infantry can do about that unless they have bazookas.
Exactly, and as we were talking about before getting into this game, they are, at the beginning at least, sticking to their respective strategies that they have shown us, where Dol is producing already 2 infantry trucks as well as the 3 bazooka trucks, as you mentioned, whereas Remy only, well, now he has 5, but before he had only 3 infantry trucks, and he was producing that early artillery to kind of get rid of the foot soldiers. So we'll see how they adapt to each other's strategies from now.
Well, anytime you have early artillery, you're going to need early airplanes because they're a great way to deal with that. And so we do have a fighter coming out from Remy as a way to maybe take that down earlier. But let's keep an eye on the giant waving hands in the air to see what each of our players are up to. You can see a couple of artillery there being carefully guided. Unfortunately, the hands can't block bullets. So these tanks running up to the artillery, almost taking one of them out. And the wave of troops in the middle of the map actually getting kind of dangerously close to these artilleries as well.
All right, well, we'll see what happens here because Dol has stopped building those basic troop trucks here, whereas Remy is taking Dol's strategy and building 9 troop trucks.
Yeah,
as you can see.
What is this? He's just
swapped.
He like net decked this build.
Yeah.
He's taking a strategy from Dol, and now we get a chance to see if our South Korean player can defend against kind of a strategy he used so well.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Well, like you said, if you used a strategy in the past, you definitely should know the counter and a way to defend it. And this fight for the supply crate area, X marks the spot, right?
Yeah, it does. But I mean, the crate had already landed, so at that point, you're like, well, this area is no longer valuable. So let's see what the transition is going to be. 9 troop trucks is insanity. And so Remy's waves are going to be massive. But is that enough? I think you need a little bit more diversity. Because if you look at what Dol has produced, he's got artillery, he's got some more advanced troop trucks out there, 4 of those out, and those are going to be really, really powerful. And some anti-air to limit the effectiveness of those aircraft.
All right, well, 10 troop trucks on the side of Remy. Dol is building a little bit more on the bazooka side. He's staying with just 2 troop trucks, but still, we have Dol in trouble. If this prolongs, this is exactly what Dol has done in his first game, but he's gonna be taken out by his own strategy that he pulled off in round 1. Remy just building up massive units that Dol can't just delete at the same time at once.
Yeah, I mean, these waves are going to start to be really kind of crashing over Dol's base. I mean, bazookas are powerful, but they aren't all that. So let's see what's going to happen, because I mean, we just might watch kind of the hands-off strategy from Remy, letting the waves do their work.
All right, well, for now, if this prolongs, like I said, Remy will have the advantage, but Dol is kind of slowly, look at this, up front bazooka truck here, on the side of Dole. So yeah, Dole, even though he knows that he's a little bit on the backside regarding the infantry units, look at him, 6 bazooka trucks now. So now he has these artilleries, he has 2 heavy tanks to defend it with the 1 anti-air and the bazooka truck up out in the front. He's going up and personal here against Remy before he builds up his huge units.
Now, one thing that needs to change is this anti-air or anti-tank gun needs to be kind of rotated a little bit, because what Dole is doing is just hiding behind a building. Buildings don't block bullets, but you do need line of sight to fire.
All right, well, like I said, there is 3 different lanes that you can work with. Dole, I guess, with the bazooka units that he's producing, and now he has upgraded his infantry trucks as well. So he's going to try to split push, and Remy is also trying to do so. But look at this, the focus on the middle lane here with because of Dole's artilleries. It forced Remy to put down that anti-tank here. Remy, base artillery going for Dole's artillery and takes full damage, and everything just explodes here. There were 2 heavy tanks, 1 anti-air, 2 artillery, and the bazooka infantry truck, and they all explode.
That's actually beautiful. Yeah. Perfect usage of that ability. It's extremely expensive. 28's no joke, but it's very effective if your opponent just has everything, their entire unit ball just in one place. Well, now it's not there anymore.
Yep, it's not there. And Dole right now, he has $30 saved up. He's leaking. He's wasting money. I don't know what happened here. Maybe he's just thinking of what to build. He's reading.
Well, he's not actually building anything.
He's actually stopped. His hands stopped moving. I don't know what happened here.
Well,
maybe he's disconnected or something.
Obviously,
or maybe he rage quit after all that base artillery. I don't know.
That would be crazy. Obviously, he's not building, he's not moving, he's not doing anything. I think it's safe to say that his participation here is limited. So Remy on the other side, probably just going to keep playing the game, but it'll be interesting to see what happens from this point on.
All right, well, it's very unfortunate. We are already 6 minutes into the game. Remy is constantly building. Dole is still staying still, and I'm not getting any word from the production of why this is happening or what has happened to Dole. Maybe I was thinking he might have run out of battery on his controllers, because that also happens.
That can happen, but I mean, you have to prepare when you play games like this.
Yeah.
So that is part of your preparation.
Exactly. So I think if Dole has run out of batteries on his controller, if that is the case, that may be the reason why we're not getting the word for a remake, because that is his fault, the player's fault, for not being prepared. So if he had somewhat an unfortunate technical difficulty with the internet or his VR, we would have gotten word of it. But right now, this game going on here, unfortunately, Dole is just taking massive amount of damage and no remake, so I don't know.
Yeah, and so you can see what Remy is doing. He's just built 17 troop trucks, and this is basically his way of saying, all right, you're not there anymore. Let's slow and steady just win the race. If your opponent's not making units, you can just make infinity troop trucks, and eventually the waves will just push to infinity and beyond.
Yeah, infinity and beyond, but we'll have to see what has actually happened here. Okay. All right, so I actually did get word.
Okay.
There may be a remake, actually. We were trying to predict what the problem was. Maybe it was running out of battery.
Okay.
And that would be the player's fault. But from what I've heard, there was some kind of bug where in the middle there was like a lag spike or something where Dole couldn't control anything. That's hence the hand staying still, as we saw.
Okay.
So yeah, because I saw the hand staying still, I thought, maybe he ran out of battery on his controller. That was one of the possibilities, but there was a bug. So, all right. So that's exactly, I got confirmation in my ear that, so the start of this technical issue happened with the disconnect, and then Dole rejoined. So a quick disconnect and a quick reconnect doesn't get you a remake, but when he reconnected, the exact same thing happened. The hand didn't work, and he got disconnected. The hand didn't move, and you need both hands in this game. You can't have just one controller.
Yeah, you can't play this one-handed.
Yeah.
Sorry if you just really want to sip on an extra large soda while you're playing the game. No, you can't do that. You need both hands ready to go. You need one of those hats that has like the cup holders in them so that you can
the straw in your mouth.
Stay hydrated. But I think for the biggest part of our player base, probably going to need 2 hands for this game.
Yeah.
Unless you can put like, you can hold both controllers in one hand.
No, you can't.
No. Don't try that at home, guys. The biggest part of the game is how you control it. Obviously, it's an RTS decision making, so your brain is important, but your hands are just as important. So it's nice when those work.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you don't necessarily need 10 fingers to play this game, though.
Yeah.
Since you play the game, so as long as you can press, I think like at least 2 to 3 buttons.
Could you play this game with your feet?
That I don't know because you like.
I have to know.
No, I think it's possible, but because there has been people like playing the piano with their toes, playing games, even PC games like keyboard mouse games with toes.
This is how you know Ending Life spends too much time on YouTube late at night. But the idea is that, yes, he needed both hands. He didn't have them with his controllers, so we're going to get his hands and his controllers and his body back in the game in virtual reality, and hopefully we can start this game back up. It looks like we actually have the game being made. Our players hopefully will rejoin there pretty soon, and then we'll be able to get right back into this. But hey, we saw some really interesting strategies being used that game, and I want to know if we have a remake. What do you think? Or you think we're just going to have straight up the same strategies, or our players are going to have to come up with something new?
Well, just by seeing the first 3 to 4 minutes of both sides, Remy definitely is switching up his strategy because him building 10 troop trucks in the beginning was not his strategy going up against MC1.
Yeah.
So he went that anti-tank, he went the heavy units from the start, from the get-go, and built up to push all at once is what Remy did in his first round, whereas, Dole build the massive amounts of units, which he did. He kind of did the similar thing in this round, but focused a little bit more on the bazooka rather than the foot soldiers.
Right.
So he's sticking with it, a little bit of a variation to his original strat, but Remy just switched it up 360.
Well, one of the things that you're going to see is that the anti-tank gun is kind of a pivotal unit. It's so long range, it deals with tanks. So if you're a commander, you don't really want to run a commander who has tanks as a centric part of your force, or no way to deal with this long-range siege that anti-tank guns can give you. So you need to kind of find a way around that. Now, one thing that G-Clef was actually kind of using as a solution to this is to go for some of these heavy Air Force commanders, either from US or Germany, because both of those have either bombers or ways to kind of circumvent these entrenched positions. But I don't see any of our players voluntarily picking these Air Force or Luftwaffe commanders. So maybe that's just not something that players think is necessary.
Yeah, so, I was just thinking, I was looking down here on some information, and von Ritter's the Luftwaffe from Germany, and Nichols' division on the side of the U.S., the 2 Air Force divisions. We haven't seen, I think I've seen it once in the NA. I don't know if it came out in the EU. Today, it certainly did not come out. But after playing the game myself, I'm not great at it. But after, doing all different kind of stuff, Air Force units, or having so many different kind of air units, is so hard to control. It's so hard.
Oh, it really is.
It's my goodness.
We were talking about how you need 2 hands to play this. You play Air Force, you need 3 or 4. You got to be pretty ambidextrous there to just grab everything all over the place because it is hard to control that many units. You get a lot of value out of the airplanes if you do use them very well, but it can be a little bit difficult to keep your spider hands everywhere controlling everything. If you had a mini Vive controller that you could put on each one of your fingers, then maybe you could control each airplane, but I don't know. In the future, when we're all playing 4D chess, that's how we'll have to control it. In the present, it's hard to control everything all at the same time.
Yeah, but just talking a little bit about the future, since you mentioned it, we need, you said 4 hands or 6 hands for the Air Force units because it's so hard to control. There's so many different kinds of airplanes to control. In the future, we might just need to brain link and just think about it and do it instead of actually moving our hands. And am I going too far?
That's a little bit far. We might be a couple of years away from that technology, but don't worry. As soon as we'll be playing Final Assault with our brains. As is, you still do need your brain to play this game. I think some of the strategies that our players are able to think up, there's some common ground. Build a lot of troop trucks. Simple idea. The execution, though, is a little bit more difficult. What else is there? There's the anti-tank gun strategy, where you set up an entrenched position and use the anti-tank gun to kind of chip away at your opponent's defenses. And then I guess the only real one that we saw on the NA qualifiers was building up a bunch of flying fortress bombers, sending the B-24s all the way into the enemy base to drop their payload and one-shot the base to kill it kind of surprisingly.
Yeah, it's actually... the bomber was pretty interesting when I was watching it happen, because it drops, I don't know, I didn't exactly count, like 5 to 6 bombs if the full payload gets dropped, right? But if it dies while it's dropping, usually in games, when one unit attacks something, right? Even though it dies as it shoots or it already shot, it goes, the full damage goes in. Am I boring you? No, but yeah, I know you're tired.
No,
but,
I was in awe. I was like,
okay.
Exactly.
But either way, this game, whatchamacallit, the bombers, as it's dropping its payload slowly, it doesn't drop all at once. It goes like right? It goes slowly, and if it gets destroyed, it only does a little bit of damage regarding of how many bombs have been dropped.
Yeah.
So it's, you know, in that sense, this game is very detailed and precise on, you know, whether you're going to be able to do a full payload drop with, like, you know, 5, 6 bombs, or if it gets destroyed, you're only going to drop a couple bombs where, you know, it can cause you the game later on.
Yeah, I mean, that strategy is very kind of niche. It's not one that you're going to see all the time. And in general, the big bombers don't really see a whole lot of play. It's usually more effective to run fast ground units or just build up over time a big amount of units. So I would expect to see those a little bit more commonly. But, you know, I maybe we get a chance to watch these players play kind of the same strategy, where they both build up a bunch of troop trucks. We just see masses of units piling over. It's a little bit of like World War Z, but with like army units, just hundreds and hundreds crashing against each other, and maybe crashing the game itself. I don't know what the unit limit is. I remember whenever I would play like older games, like kind of the foundational RTS games, there was like a unit or a sprite limit in the game. There seems to be a pretty high count here, because we've got up to over 100 infantry units on each side. So there's probably a pretty high one, but something tells me our players might just be able to hit it.
Yeah, I'm very curious, especially with these two players, seeing how they played before, you know, we had to get that remake, getting crazy amounts of infantry troop trucks. I wouldn't be surprised if this game started lagging, because I didn't see in the NA or EU any of these players focusing so much on the basic units.
Well, let's see what they focus on as we get back into our remake of this series. Already, we're going to start to see a couple of troop trucks in production. Okay, my words are a little bit gone by now. In production. There we go. And so we might see that on both sides. Dole actually waited to tech up to tier 2, and now he's producing the higher tier Panzerschreck bazooka units as troops, instead of just using those early troop carriers to transport his infantry out into the lane.
All right, so Dole is staying with Gallen's division, but Remy, Remy changed to Beaumont's division, so we'll see what difference it will make here. Actually, no, it was Dole who switched. So they were both Beaumont division before the remake, and then Dole switched into Gallen's division. So yeah, no mirror matches this time. We'll see what kind of different kind of strategy both players will bring. But on the side of Remy, we have to notice that he still has the anti-tank gun on his side, where Dole does not. So we'll see how Dole decides to deal with it if Remy does decide to bring out that anti-tank gun.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. One of the early things that we see here is a fighter built there. Going to get a nice Thunderbolt for Remy, but I don't know exactly how he wants to use that. So let's keep an eye and see where that might come into play. Already, we see the troops kind of knocking on Dole's door there. Remy pushing all the way up there. He's continuing to build troop trucks, but he also has a few of these little light units, like one Sherman and one Jeep, kind of running around the map just to pick up cargo.
Yeah, the 50 cal Jeep on the side of Remy. You know, 50 cal is supposed to be strong, but in this game, the Jeep blows up too fast for the 50 cal to do its full potential.
But so, there it was. It was its full potential, not dealing damage. It's just there to pick up the drops to give extra money.
Yep.
And you can see that money immediately spent to not only tech up to tier 3, but to allow Remy to put out his first anti-tank gun.
All right, that's a quick anti-tank. We're only 2 minutes into the game, and Remy is already bringing out the big guns. But if you notice, Dole, once again, is going back to his old style. He's producing massively on the infantry, the basic foot soldiers, as well as the bazooka units. And he's producing small amounts of heavy tanks here, or the artilleries, rather. So we'll see how Remy deals with that.
Now look at this. This is exactly how Remy is going to deal with that. He's got 3 Shermans off to the side, and he's going to try to flank the tanks, or the artillery, and come in from behind to take them out. Already a lot of damage being done. The little Jeep's kind of idle behind it, but look at that. The artillery just blows up. No chance. Actually, no, it ran around the corner. I didn't see that.
It is alive, very low on health, but you know, this is a little bit off topic, but these two players, you can see, the players can also see each other in game of where, you know, the other commanders are. They were like very close. They were about to kiss each other when they were trying to focus on them. And I was thinking, you know, we see the hand. What if they swing with the controller and punch?
Yeah, what if they're actually... G-Clef was trying to do this to me the other day when we were playing against each other. He was trying to punch me, and I'm like, dude, that doesn't work. But it is intimidation tactics if you want to go for it. Because it is crazy to see one of these giant show-me-what-you-got heads like just run all up in your grill. So let's keep an eye on what's happening. You mentioned the commitment to troop production here from Dole. He is macroing out this game. He's focusing on the big picture. Lots of infantry out there. Bazookas, regular infantry. He's got it all. And maybe that prevails because the DPS from the anti-tank gun is very low.
It is very low, but it's not only anti-tank guns that Remy has. He has these artilleries protecting his sidelines. But look at that anti-tank gun do work.
Oh, we're going to see it. He's waiting.
We hear it. We hear the siren.
Yep, there it is.
There's artillery coming from Remy.
This is exactly what happened.
Oh, my goodness.
I'm getting sick deja vu right now, Ending. This is exactly picture perfect what happened in the last game.
Deja vu, literally. Dole loves to hide behind that building. Remy puts down that anti-tank gun there, and the base artillery is just destroying everything.
Remy up at max money there for a second. He produces a Calliope off of collecting that supply drop. A lot of money immediately spent on a very powerful unit.
All right, well, we do have Dole kind of being pressured now, even though he has been producing massive amounts of foot soldiers and bazooka units. He's still getting pushed back because of the anti-tank guns not allowing to kind of support the foot soldiers here on the side of Dole.
Oh man, that Calliope, the massive barrage of artillery fire, just so powerful at destroying those big bazooka waves. You know, those units are very kind of tanky, but not against the Calliope fire. Just absolutely raining down destruction. A very powerful wave, a lot put into building those troops, but it's just not enough against this high-tech unit.
All right, well, right now, Dole, he has taken a little bit of damage onto his tower. Nothing critical has happened yet, but if this continues, even though Dole is mass producing on small units, Remy has found the way, has found the high ground terrain to just delete all the small units at once with the area damage. So Dole definitely has to think of another way to approach this game.
You know, Ending, I didn't actually expect to see very many Calliopes. That's those big sort of like missile barrage units that you see there. They're very long range, high damage artillery, but they deal with these massive waves of troops so incredibly well. So even though there's a ton of troop production from Dole, it just evaporates in the face of this withering fire.
Exactly. It's withering away, like you say. But yeah, like the numbers on the side of Dole has been going up and down, up and down. And while this is happening, Remy already found the safe spot, the sweet spot to kind of defend off Dole's massive units. And now Remy is going to retaliate by building 7 troop trucks for himself to mass produce as well. Even though he won't be able to produce bazooka units, he still will match Dole in terms of regular foot soldiers.
Now let's see, Air Force is still 2-1. Remy has a slight advantage there, but we're not really seeing that come into play. The big advantage, though, are now in 2 anti-tank guns, which are going to be used to take out this anti-aircraft entrenched position here. That's why you see the blue arrow drawn there on the ground.
All right, that blue arrow, like you say, is going to go for that. We'll see if Dole notices this sneaky attack, but be able to defend those anti-tank guns and that one troop truck that he has placed outside.
Oh, one of them getting taken down. The second one,
no.
they were drawn into the lane. The lane is not where you put anti-tank units because they don't fire at ground units. So they just run into enemy turrets. But hey, if you look in the air, you're going to see a 3-2 now. The advantage going to Dole with his Messerschmitts.
All right, well, we'll have to see if Dole is able to push out because right now in front of his base, all the way in the front, up and personal, Remy is attacking Dole's towers, and Dole is kind of holding on but is unable to push out of his base.
Yeah, and it's kind of incredible. He's unable to push out of his base even when he's making this many units.
Yeah.
The troops just keep flowing. Like you said, those high number of troop drops that Remy added on seem to be kind of the secret sauce that's allowing him to keep the pressure on Dole's base.
All right, I just saw, fortunately for me, Dole producing a couple of artillery units. He knew that he needs long-range area units. They are setting up, as you see on your screen right away.
Oh, man. This is so crazy. This is like an actual battle. It's in virtual reality, and we can show it to you on your screen, but you never know what it's like until you actually get in the game. And in truth, the theme of WCG is going beyond the game, and I think that's what we're doing here today.
All right, we see, but we saw the artilleries come out from Dole to try to defend it off, but that Calliope in behind that big, tall building here right now, yeah, the observer heard us, is showing us this tank itself is just destroying all the artilleries that Dole is producing, destroying the towers from long range, and Dole does not have the answer for this yet.
So currently, Dole is just thinking, oh my goodness, I have to get control of the air. He tried it with the ground units, but the anti-tank gun and the assassination tank runs that Remy was running took out his artillery, his anti-air, so he's trying to do it in the air. But even though in reality the Messerschmitts were very powerful fighters, here they just don't they just aren't able to get the job done. Maybe they chip away at it little by little, but his base is dying.
All right, well, we hear another siren coming through. Base artillery from Remy onto Dole's base. I think he is going for those bazooka troop units plus a little bit of damage to the towers. So now, Dole, I think he had 6 bazooka troop trucks, but now he's only left with 3.
Yeah, a great way. If you see your opponent going for troop trucks, those things don't move a lot. So just artillery fire them. The base defenses being a good offense there to take them out. And even in truth, these Calliopes, look at that. One after another, these towers are dropping down. 3 dead, 4 dead. We're about to see 5 and 6 go down here pretty soon.
Yeah, this Calliope here stationed behind this building is causing too much trouble. Nothing has happened to Remy. Remy just stations them here and he can focus on building and kind of flanking around on other lanes because these artillery and the Calliopes with the extra Sherman tanks to back it up is not going to be destroyed unless Dole, I think now, if he wants to destroy this, he should have just saved up, given up maybe a couple towers early game and use his base artillery or even nuke it to get rid of it. But now I think it feels like it's a little bit too late.
It does seem to be a little bit too late. The base is actually taking a lot of damage. The troop waves overwhelming. Over 100 troops now in Dole's base. And with that base being just defended by this last bastion, I don't think that there's going to be a whole lot more to hold on here. Dole might have won that air war with that 4 planes in the air, but there's nothing left on the ground to defend his base.
All right, well, it seems like Dole is running out of options, running out of money. He still is trying to defend here. The heavy tanks do come out. The 4 aircrafts that he has could be focusing on the foot soldiers, and yes, as I speak, he does do so. Gets rid or tries to get rid of all the riflemen on the ground, but we'll see. It's still damage is going into Dole's command center.
Yeah, and with the center's dropping lower and lower, and with that artillery fire, it is going to do it. Remy will advance on to the grand finals with a 1-game advantage.
All right, well, congrats to Remy. Unfortunately for Dole, now I think it's Korea versus Korea, isn't it?
Yeah, he is going to drop down to face MC Remy, and that could actually be a really close battle. You know, obviously these are probably streamers or personalities that know of each other, so might be kind of cool to see them kind of surprisingly not expecting to face off against each other in Final Assault, but here they are.
Yeah, here they are. But before we get to see Dole versus MC Rena, we're going to take a quick break, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. All right, guys, welcome back to 2019 WCG VR Championships in Final Assault. I'm ending life. We have Rapid, and we have our second to last game now. We have the losers bracket, and well, not the actual losers bracket, like the winners losers bracket, I guess. The last chance for both MC Rena and Dole to get a chance to go to the China WCG Grand Finals.
That's right. So there's a lot on the line here today. The top 2 players will advance on to play at the VR Championships for Final Assault in Xi'an at the WCG 2019 Grand Finals. So 2 players advance to face off there, but there's also a lot of money on the line. The first place player from today will walk away with $2,000. And the second place player gets $1,000. So even though both players might win a trip to China, the real money is going to come from today, is from who finishes first and second. So still a lot of money on the line, a lot of pride on the line here. And coming up, we've got the pride of South Korea facing off against each other.
So like I said at the beginning of the cast, don't be afraid of South Korea. We have 2 South Koreans trying to, kind of struggling to go all the way straight to the grand final position of the regionals here today. We have Remy from Australia just waiting in the throne of the kings to kind of secure it before the last retaliation, the last coup d'etat happens.
That's right. So we've got MC Remy coming up, facing off against Dole. And who do you think has shown stronger play here today, Ending?
Well, to be honest, in the beginning, we saw a little bit of weakness on MC Rena because she did come up from the actual losers bracket from the start.
That's right.
She did have a little bit of a hard time, but the fact that she was able to come up and not actually get eliminated shows the potential that she has. And Dole, on the other hand, he knows what he wants to do. He already has a strategy down. Unfortunately for him, it seems like he only knows only a couple of strats for him to go with, which is mass production of the foot soldiers.
That's right. And day one for the NA qualifiers really showcased such a massive number of strategies. You were shouting out, sadly, it's Bradley, who just tried a different thing every game and was really able to pull out these different strategies to great effect. So hopefully Dole is able to kind of come up to something. Maybe if he leans over and reads chat for a second, they've got some Grandmaster level advice for him to try out here. Because I don't really think that any player playing this game right now has figured out the best strategy. It's so new, and there's so many different strategies, different characters, different maps to play on, that no one strategy is going to be the best on every map. And because we change a map each time, you got to change up your strategy along with it. And I think that adapting is truly where our players are really going to find victory.
Yeah, exactly. And the different kind of strategies that people come up with is always exciting to see, especially in RTS. And we will be going straight into the game. Dole from South Korea versus MC Rena from South Korea as well.
All right, so starting things off, it appears as if the openers are pretty well fleshed out here. Basically, you spend your first amounts of money on building a couple of troop trucks just to start your waves, start pushing. And it does depend on how many lanes there are in your map. So that is going to matter a lot. Probably an early focus on troop trucks from Dole because that's kind of what he knows the best. And yeah, he's already built a couple of bazooka trucks as well. Just one.
Yeah, so this is actually one of the maps that I was referring to where there's no high ground. There's 2 lanes that go left and right, and there's a middle lane where basic troops don't spawn, but there is still an opening and a supply crate drop X in the middle. So it's kind of weird. It's like the opposite of the first map where we have one lane in the middle and we have side flanks. But this time, the 2 side lanes on the left and right are the main lanes, and the one in the middle is actually the empty lane where you can just kind of not flank, but just go straight into the enemy's base.
Now, we should point out that MC Rema has changed her character. She is actually going to be going with Simmons this game, and one thing Simmons does better than any other player in the game is troop production. You can build so many troops. You can build tier 1 troops, tier 2 troops, tier 3 troops, and so you can really just build as many as you want. It's very, very powerful, and I do hope that we get a chance to really see her use that overwhelming power here on a 2-lane map.
Exactly, and it's actually pretty good going up against Gallen's division, which Dole decided to use once again because MC Rena's third tier 3 troop is mortar troops. So they have the long range, tank destroying, damaging rockets or whatever you want to call it, shooting out of their mortars, and they destroy artilleries and heavy tanks. So MC Rena, if she does decide to build those later on, Dole's gonna have trouble with producing his tanks.
Really cool moment right here.
Ooh.
2-on-1 set up by Rema. She knew that she needed to deal with that in transposition and set up the 2-on-1 to take out that artillery and the tank there. Beautifully played.
All right. Well, early game, nothing too critical is happening. They are just getting a taste of what each other will decide to do. Dole, actually, this time, he's not starting super early with his troop productions. He only has 2 infantry truck and 1 bazooka truck, and he's focusing a lot on his basic heavy tank.
Yeah, so he's got 4 or 5 Panzers out there, but I don't really know if that's going to work out because the tanks tend to, they're going to clump up for artillery fire, and the bazooka troops that Rema does have a few of are still going to be very effective against those Panzers. But I'm guessing that we should see her save money to get up to tier 3 here pretty soon. Those mortar troops are actually so incredibly strong.
Yeah, she definitely needs the mortar trucks. Unfortunately, she doesn't get the information that we have at the bottom where, the number of units are produced on either side. So we get this. So if she slowly figures out that Dole has this many Panzers out already saved up, she should just go straight for the mortar troops because of that long-range tank destroying firepower that the mortar troops bring to her. So we'll see if she notices that and she decides to just level up to tier 3 quickly.
All right, so we do see a little bit of a shift in the gameplay. We've got a couple of fighters being produced by Dole as he looks to take control of the air. No anti-air, but that is going to become more and more important because all these troops we're talking about Rena producing, they don't shoot up.
They definitely do not shoot up. She doesn't have any anti-air in her troop as well. So right now, in terms of troop and pressure, Dole is definitely, if he felt like it, he could just pressure Rena right in front of her base, right up to her face. But right now, it seems like he just wants the middle ground. This is the empty lane where basic troops do not go through. He has stationed all his tanks. Look at this. Massive amounts of Panzer and a couple of artillery in the middle to kind of negate the basic troops going on the side lanes.
That's right. So both of our players might be teching up here. I'm always waiting to see where that tier 3 comes through because in the last game it was very, very important. And actually Dole is almost at that 30. Yeah, hitting 28, hitting 30. All right, well, he's got to spend his money. See our players moving around.
Oh.
I'm hoping that we don't have another disconnection issue because he has stopped.
No, he's moving.
Okay, he's moving.
Yeah.
Got to spend that money.
I think he's busy controlling specific units and placing them that he didn't notice that he was full for so long. And now the money's spent. And same thing is happening for Rena. She is at full money. She's busy controlling. Finally, she does spend it, and she has that bomber.
Yep, she went up to tier 3.
Gosh.
Has a mortar troop and a B-52 or B-40. Man, my numbers.
B-17 Flying Fortress.
B-17 Flying Fortress. What was the super fortress is the B-42, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know. Okay. My history was not my strongest class. But they do have the big bomber and the high tier units coming out of Rena, and that's going to be a huge advantage. Let's see what she does with it.
All right. Yeah, she does have that solid defense in front of her base on the left side, but she doesn't seem to want to kind of get out of her base yet. She is sending out a couple small units to kind of deal with those tanks here, but she's not massively producing to get out of her base rather than just to defend here in her base with the artilleries placed inside the walls of her base.
Yeah, I mean, there's one way to do it is to defend, to set all your units in the base and try to, just get an overwhelming advantage, either with high-powered troop trucks, build up a bunch of bombers, and then run across the map and kill your enemy's base. A lot of different ways to do it. But I don't think that Dole is going to give her the chance to kind of take that kind of a breather. He's got 7 of these Panzer tanks out in the lane, and so those are really going to put the push on. But you can see he's actually kind of grouping his units all up here in the middle of the map, so I'm curious what he wants to do with that entrenched position.
We'll have to see, because Dole, grouping up, taking over a terrain, and to make sure that it's his is a good strat. But we've seen base artilleries just destroy, just massacre those units in the previous game.
Yeah.
And you don't want to do that. If you are going to do that, you have to be ready. When you hear that siren from that base artillery, you have to spread all your units where they're clumped up so they don't all explode. We'll see if MC Rena thinks of doing that, or if she has another thing in mind.
Here comes that bombing run. That's what she has in mind. Ready to go, dropping bombs all over this clumped up group of units. There are fighters out there, but
she runs by.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
All right, there it is. But I don't actually think the bombing run went according to plan, because it felt like she dropped the bombs on the turnaround, not the actual bombing run. But she's coming back around for another trip, and maybe this will... Wait, where is that dropping?
She practice run.
Okay,
she dropped it in her base just to see if it works correctly.
Okay. I mean, I guess that's one way to do it. She has gone up to 2 of these B-17s, and that is, obviously going to be twice the potential damage. And if she goes up to 3, we could be getting towards that 4 to 5 number that you need to just one-shot the enemy base.
Yeah, I don't know if she is willing to take the risk of just sending the expensive units straight into the base, where it has basic anti-air in the base, inside the walls, but she's doing it. She has seen the NA qualifiers. She is trying to do a very similar thing, but it does go down.
Yeah.
This one was the weak one, though. It wasn't the one with the full HP.
Right. So I guess she was really kind of just getting rid of it. Maybe doesn't want to save it for a rainy day. And there's actually 4 of these Messerschmitt fighters out for Dole. So his air force is very strong. I don't think that using the bombers that way to deal base damage is going to be the way to go.
Yeah, right now, in terms of Rena, like you say, she's getting pressured so much. She has no terrain control at all. So since she does have some bombers, maybe just get rid of the massively grouped up tank in the middle right now, as shown, to get rid of this, to kind of get out of her cave right now, because she's been stuck in her base for so long, probably all of the game of 9 minutes here.
Yeah, and she's using units that kind of wind up getting expended, just dragging them into the lane, whether they're the panzers or just the troops. I actually think it might be a good idea to just build up a critical mass of troop trucks if she's going to be defending for this long. Just build up a lot of mortars. Those things do pretty darn well. So let's see what both of our players want to focus on. You'll notice that Dole has built a ton of air defense, 3 anti-aircraft guns, as well as 4 planes in the sky. He is totally solid against any sort of airborne aggression.
Yeah, exactly. As Dole was building and preparing for those bombers with the anti-aircraft, Rena is trying to do a flank attack here with the Shermans, and she actually does reach Dole's side gate here, and now Dole has to pull back a couple of units to do so, and there they are. The backup has come for Dole, and it may be a little bit too late for one tower. It could go down here.
The bazooka troops actually doing a lot of damage to deal with the armor that's running right by. The towers are very, very close, and Dole does lose his first one to just side lane push. The power of the troops eventually push all the way to his tower and take it down.
All right, one of the tower is down. Dole focusing on his defense now. He had too many units in the center that it took him a little bit long to bring them back for reinforcements, but now he does defend it after one tower goes down. Now Rena, she kind of has an idea which routes are safe, even though Dole has most of the controls. But yeah, we do hear that siren.
That siren means only one thing, and we are about to see a launch momentarily.
I think we missed it. It already hit Rena here.
All right.
The V2 rocket has landed here in front of one of the side lanes of the base of Rena.
Well, hopefully that's enough to kind of reset things, because even though it massively crushes Rena's infantry count, that'll build back up over time. I want to see if she does go for rebuilding that, because now she's no more mortar trucks, no more bazooka trucks, just one infantry truck left.
Yeah, she definitely needs to produce a little bit more. But look at this. She has been focusing on the bomb drops, and she does land it on the main command center. It takes roughly 25 to 30% of those command center's HP down, and she still has 2 bombers left in her base.
That's a really cool way. I was wondering what she was going to be doing with her money after taking that massive V2 rocket hit. But it looks like we found the answer there, Ending. She is banking up these bombers to try to run them into the main base and take it out. But, I mean, there's still a ton of anti-aircraft fire to run through. There's still 3 fighters in the air, and here we go. We've got bomber number 2.
But this one is a little bit low, so I don't know if she wants to send this first, but I guess she just does want to send it out. And Dole has lost his anti-air. He did have 3 prepared, but I think that side attack that Rena did before this attack actually got rid of the 3 anti-airs, and this time around, that big bomber does go down. That was the one with a little bit of low health, so it's not surprising. But look at this. Dole is ignoring the damage that his base is taking, has already came in to MC Rena's base.
That's right. His troop trucks are still in effect. 5 infantry troop trucks, 2 Panzerschrecks for those bazookas,
Ooh.
and that's just very, very powerful. This push is going to need to be bombed, but the bombers aren't going for the push, they're going for the base.
All right, I guess they are just kind of going to see who kills first, but Rena only has 1 bomber airplane, and that's 100% not enough. But look at this damage taken. Look at the damage.
It's going up too high. Dole is able to claim a victory in the end and advance on to the grand finals.
All right, well, this was a pretty close game up until where Rena decided to kind of get the bombers onto Dole's base first. And then Dole was like, all right, you want to do this? I'm going to ignore, since you only have 1 bomber plane coming at a time, I have a little bit of time to make a counter push. And Dole made a smart decision there to ignore that and just send all the massive unit that he built up, was saving up in the middle of the terrain, and just sent it out and just finished it off.
I think we saw there towards the end maybe a little bit of frustration from MC Rena, where nothing seemed to be working out. That V2 rocket hit that took out all of her troop production just changed the game completely. And at that point, she's like, well, last-ditch effort is to try to make these desperation bombing runs into the base. That just didn't work out.
Yeah, it definitely didn't. If she was willing to take the damage and if she was willing to not go out of her base, I think she could have maybe saved the 4 to 5 bombers. And then if she were able to control at least 2 at a time and land those like she did the first time, the first landing of the bombs or drop of the payload was actually pretty good. She, I think, landed all of the payload onto Dole's base. And if she had 5 planes and she was able to do that with at least 3 to 4 out of the 5, I think she could have had the game.
You know, there's a few game mechanics questions that need to be answered before strategies like that become effective. One of them is the anti-aircraft fire area of effect? Does it deal single target damage? Is it targeted on 1 bomber? Because if you can send in all 5 bombers at the same time and anti-aircraft fire graphically is an area of effect, flat cannon explosion, but in-game the mechanics are only single target per hit per bomber, then you can actually just send everything in all at the same time, and there's no way that anti-aircraft fire is going to deal with all of that at once. Granted, that's a ton of money, and by that point, you probably could have won another way. But these are the questions that inquiring minds want to know. All I'm trying to say is that the bomber strat didn't work out in the end. That massive V2 rocket hit really put Dole over the edge and sends him into the grand finals.
Yeah, now we have Remy from Australia probably watching this last game, seeing the way either MC Rena or Dole likes to play. And we already had Dole versus Remy in the past.
That's right. It's a
Remy,
rematch.
Yeah, it's a rematch. It's a revenge match. Dole has to redeem himself, or Remy can just put Dole in his place, say, you do not mess with me.
You know, it's been very rare in the history of other esports to see Korea and Australia go head-to-head and have Australia prevail.
Yeah.
We might have that happening here today, Ending, because Remy, it seemed like his strategic knowledge was very strong. He has not only the advantage of being able to watch all of Dole's games, play against him already, but he sits with a 1-game advantage in the grand final, and that is massive.
Yeah, that is huge. Remy, like Rapid just said, just needs to win 1 game, but Dole having trouble, and he did end up coming to the grand final. So he is the final two. He is going to China, and he is getting at least $1,000 in reward money. However, if he wants to beat Remy and become the top player in APAC region, he has to win 2 games.
That's right.
Back to back.
It's a lot to ask, and I don't know if Remy, even if he does lose a game, which, oh, by the way, he hasn't done yet, even if he does lose a game, he's got all that knowledge to be able to maybe pull out a different strategy. Yeah. These maps for our final series are just crazy. They're gigantic. So many lanes, avenues, different positions to control. If you've won the first few maps, maybe our 1 and 2 lane maps, you get to the finals, you've got to play a whole different strategy because the maps are very different.
Yeah, the layouts of the map, the way it looks, the terrain, it's all different. As you guys saw, the first couple maps, I think we've seen 3 maps so far, but yeah, the maps get crazier and crazier, and it gets huge. We have like 4-lane maps, as you saw in the previews. If you haven't, when we were at the beginning of the cast, we were showing you all the maps that we will end up playing or potentially be able to play. And one of the maps has like 8 towers, 8 towers on the list. Like, yeah, we've seen up to 6, and that was massive. But when you see 8 tower maps, I don't know. I'm glad that I'm casting this and not playing this.
Well, I mean, I actually really like playing the game.
Yeah.
It's super, super fun. So I would love to be playing this, but I'd only love to be playing this in this situation if I were also very good like these players. So that might take a little bit more practice on my side. And in truth, all of our players are only this good because they have put in a lot of practice.
Oh, yeah.
So you can't take any of that away from them. They're here for a reason. And I really hope that we get a chance to see a really good display of that reason in their skill levels in the finals.
Yeah, we'll have to see if both of these players are prepared to kind of especially Dole, because he already lost to Remy once. So, you know, let's hope that Dole has prepared different kinds of strategy to counter Remy, because we know that Remy is strong. Like you said, he hasn't lost a single game yet. So Remy is kind of in the comfortable position with that +1 win.
Yeah.
But something a little bit different off the topic thing. In esports, we usually get to see the players in between games, like, you know, how they're preparing, like if they're sitting at a computer, in front of a computer, but like, you know, they're at home, it's an online qualifier, so we don't get to see it. And that's like actually one of the things that it's unfortunate for me here as a caster, because when we see a VR esports like this, and we see them having that VR on with the controllers, and we see them moving around in their rooms, like that can also create another kind of storyline where I think I visited Dole when he was practicing before, and he was actually sitting down and playing.
Oh, okay.
So like we can see the different styles of players playing different ways of VR.
Yeah, some people like to stand up. I myself am a stander when it comes.
You're a stander,
because I actually move around a lot when I play. But I think sitting down, actually giving yourself maybe more stability.
Yeah.
A lot of our pro players use like the controllers to move.
Yeah. So it's possible to move around with the controllers, but you know, that could kind of create another type of story where, you know, we can see someone that is crazy good just sitting down, just using his hands and controllers to be good at it. Or on the other hand, like yourself, like he might use less of the controllers and just move around with his body and just like actually be in the action. And it would be fun, and it would be great to actually see the players on camera kind of doing the jiggly and the moving things. It would be fun. It would add the fun.
I mean, I hope we get a chance to do that at the grand finals
let's hope.
For Final Assault in Xi'an. That would actually be really cool. Because then you get a chance to not only see what they're doing in real life. And by the way, I love the feature that they have in Final Assault of showing like the giant heads and arms, so that you can actually see what your opponent is kind of looking like. Obviously, they don't look exactly like they do in the game.
No, they don't. They're not.
But they do actually illustrate. Okay, I'm doing this thing, then I'm doing this thing. Maybe if you see, hey, my player just put a bunch of units over here, you can be thinking, okay, well, that's where his emphasis is. Maybe I should put some of mine over there. And it's really cool because RTS has this kind of this thing that's always there. You go back to some of the very early RTSs, and there was no fog of war. But then over time, bringing that uncertainty, that imperfect information, really changed the face of what RTS looked like. Well, now we're kind of removing that veil. You can see everything. You can see where your opponent is clicking or like moving with his hands in virtual reality. And so that's so much more information that you have to work with, and hopefully more information that our players are going to be able to use to play even better and impress us even more.
Yeah, exactly. And the removing of the fog of war, or actually having fog of war, could definitely change the whole game, especially in a genre like RTS. So we'll see. Without the fog of war, with having all the information that you can possibly get, even having the silhouette of your opponent's hand and face and where they're looking, where they're clicking. Let's see how these players come out and decide to go up against each other. It seems like we're slowly getting ready to get into our potentially our last game.
Potentially our last game, but coming up next, this is the grand finals, the WCG 2019 VR Championship for Final Assault. Remy from Australia in the red, facing off against Dol from South Korea in the blue.
All right, it seems like Dole will be staying with Galen's division throughout this whole tournament, and Remy is going to be on the Beaumont's division from the U.S.
And this is exactly what you should expect from Remy. He is known for being this anti-tank gun-centric player. You don't want to start out with that, but we are still seeing kind of the same way to start. Actually, no, this is a little bit different. So most of the time, our players will like to open with 2 troop trucks just to get those waves pushing, because this is going to have that many lanes. But this time around, we've seen 3 Panzers, so these early small tanks from Dole actually going to be committed to entrenching his artillery position.
Yeah, so there's a small terrain here, as you see on your screen. This is a little bit of a high ground, I guess, an uphill for both players on either side. Right now we're on the side of Dole, so he has to be the one that's going uphill. But Remy already has that artillery early with that support tank, but this artillery is gonna die because Dole sees that artillery, if untouched, could get rid of Dole's tower. So Dole, good reaction, good counter.
Oh, fighting over that crate. I don't know how they decide who gets that if there's 2 units on it. I guess it's whichever one's closest to the middle. But I believe that went over to...
I think it went to Remy.
Yeah, I believe it did go to Remy. Well, the only thing is I'm looking at where that money was spent, and I just don't see it. But I'm guessing, it did go to Remy.
Yeah, but both of these players are deserving to be in the grand finals. They know most of the time not to, waste money by not using it. By not spending money is also wasting when you're at $30. So, yeah, they are busy spending even during the action here. And this high ground fight is going to be critical, especially because Remy already has an artillery attacking Dole's base, Dole's tower, all the way from that central high ground there. And Dole definitely needs to get rid of those artillery tanks. If not, those towers on the right side of Dole's base will go down slowly.
Well, you can see these towers starting to be chipped away at. Winning that high ground fight was so crucial. Not only does it, secure that X spot for drops being, put down there, but the artillery fire, devastating, taking down these turrets already. Oh, and he's even hitting the bazooka troops who are coming from the other lane. That position is just, that's the only thing you need to worry about on Wallenborg is just sit your units there on the high ground, control that, control the map.
Exactly. It seems like, why is the terrain so close to Dole's base? It's the same thing on the other side for Remy. It's just Remy has taken over this whole central high ground area. That's why Remy is able to do these artillery bomb attacks onto Dole's tower. Dole has to definitely focus on getting and taking over, or at least fighting and distracting these artillery tanks in the middle.
Well, it's just artillery versus artillery right now ending. We've just got it back and forth and back and forth. Dole finally seems like he might have stabilized a little bit, but look at how many troops there are still up on that high ground for Remy.
All right, Dole does destroy a couple here. Dole actually decided to mass produce like 3 or 4 artillery at once. He does lose a couple in action. However, he does stabilize, like you said, but that one artillery still alive in that corner is unable to be reached.
Yeah, it's still alive, but it's still within range of that tower without being in range of the defending artillery. So Dole is still taking chip damage on this tower. He's got to find a way to break out of his base.
All right, 3 artilleries now. So now Dole did push back the the up-close and personal artilleries in front of his base, but there's still that one all the way in the back, this one that's like around half health. Still able to reach one of those towers here, so we'll see what Dole decides to do or finds out a way to destroy this one artillery here, causing so much trouble.
Interesting that even though there's only one artillery, it's still incredibly effective. I think we're setting up for a drop coming in here pretty soon. I'm not sure exactly the timing on those, but you can see X marks the spots, and all of them are being guarded by Remy.
Oh yeah, and a quick correction, only at the beginning of the game, players are able to see each other, I guess. And when you get into the game, you don't see the opponent's avatar.
Okay, I guess that is our view of the game as a
observers.
As observers, yeah.
So only in the beginning, players are able to see each other and kind of wave, and then when the game actually starts to get into action, then you don't see your opponent's avatar.
All right, I need to check my observer privilege because we can see things that not everybody can. So thanks for clarifying that, just for everybody else out there watching. But to get back into the game and see where we are now, we've had Remy spend a lot of money teching all the way up. And he's actually built a Calliope. Now, these are these very strong multi-rocket barrage artilleries that can really decimate very large clumps of infantry. And hopefully it's going to help him break into this high ground position that Dole has finally been able to regain control of.
Exactly. Dole finally feeling a little bit comfortable, not having any artillery attacks onto his tower. He was able to save it. It's on fire. But now Remy is answering once again with a couple of artilleries, getting rid of Dole's tanks. And one flanking Sherman gets rid of Dole's artillery as well. So now this is the fight for the high ground. Dole has produced a bomber on the air, you see here, trying to stay alive.
Yeah, he's got a couple of these Stuka dive bombers.
Yeah.
These are the kind of the big, bad way to deal with ground units from the sky for Gallen's division. But the problem is that they do get shot down by fighters, so you've got to guard them. There's this whole Air Force air war between the American Air Force and the Luftwaffe, but that's completely separate from all these artillery fires going down on the ground. And look at that, a beautiful artillery shot, almost taking out that Calliope.
Yeah, but Calliope still stays alive, and now Remy has brought back up. He does have that anti-air, but yeah, the bomber does drop another one, and the Calliope does go down. Great micro control on the side of Dole.
Taking out the Calliope, great, but your base is dying, man. You've lost one turret, one is just on its last legs, and two more are about to fall. So Dole is still in a little bit of trouble as far as his base is concerned. He took out a big unit, but there's another one being rebuilt back in its place.
Alright, well, Dole, I don't know, he might need to build the anti-tank gun here, the heavy tank here that you see on the bottom right. We have 0 of it. Dole is kind of figuring out a way, but look at his unit counts. They're very low compared to Remy. Remy has different kinds of units being produced. Massive foot soldiers, 73 in count. Dole only has 16. So right now, Dole is being pushed back to the corner. I hope he figures out a way to kind of get out of his base like he did the first time after taking over this high ground. But look at the units here.
Well, Remy, this time he's brought an anti-aircraft gun with him. And because he also has a fighter in the air, I think this position might just be a little bit too entrenched. And Dole doesn't have a lot of time to be able to come up with an answer to this because he has only one tower left and he has no more games left to play. Remy is sitting with that one game advantage. He's up 1-0, and that means if he wins here right now, he is going to be advancing on to the finals in Xi'an in first place.
Yeah, in first place, getting $1,000 extra compared to the second place. That's a big difference in prize money as well. Remy is already shredding down on Dole's command center.
That's right, the base is taking damage here, ending. The troops are unable to be dealt with. That position on the high ground is still incredibly strong here for Remy. And Dole, it's do or die right now. If he doesn't find a way to survive, it's going to be Remy going out in first place.
All right, well, right now it seems like there is no answer on the side of Dole. There's too many units. Dole is spending money, but it's not doing anything to get in getting rid of this.
That's right, and that's going to do it. Remy takes the victory and will claim first place, $2,000, and along with Dole, a trip to the WCG VR Championship Finals for Final Assault in Xi'an.
All right, well, congrats to Remy and congrats to Dole as well, who did come in second place. They will both be going, but like we said before, pride was on the line, and unfortunately, South Korea in second place, Dol in second place, and Australia, Remy, congrats. I want to see how he prevails against the NAEU and also Chinese winners.
That's so crazy because we've gotten to see NAEU and the APAC region play, but we don't know about China yet.
Nope.
And that's really going to be a big surprise that all of our players, all of our competitors are going to have to think about and deal with when they get there to the finals. Here's a look at the bracket. If you guys are wondering how our players got here, you saw that we started out with Dol, Cheru, Remy, and Rena at the beginning, but then in the end, it was Remy ending in first place and then Dol finishing in second.
All right, look how strong Remy looks. He has just won, all the matches.
Completely undefeated.
Yeah, undefeated. We have almost had an undefeated match in the NA also, but unfortunately we had some defeats coming back and forth, so we went to full 3 sets for NA, I think.
Super exciting.
Yeah, that was super exciting as well to watch, but looking at a matchup like this, very unfortunate for anybody who went up against Remy because he's such a strong player.
Oh, yeah. Total goes to at this game. The biggest thing for me is that, so Remy, undefeated, very strong player.
Yeah.
We saw the same thing in our EU division where Derval was this Polish player who just killed everybody. Very, very incredible. And he had this just really focused, concentrated strategy. And that's what's really going to happen at the grand finals in Xi'an. You're going to see these players who are just incredibly skilled. They have these finely tuned strategies, and they're going to be making them even stronger as they prepare for the grand finals in about a month. So just so much excitement being around this final Assault esports competition, and it's all going to culminate at the grand finals in Xi'an.
Yeah, exactly. Until we do get ready for the WCG Xi'an Grand Finals, I think this is it for us, Rapid. It was a great time casting with you. We'll be back. I don't know if we'll be back, but you guys just stay tuned. Keep up with Twitter to see the information, to see how you can interact and get in on that WCG Final Assault action. My name was Ending Life. This was Rapid. Thanks for tuning in. This is it for us. Goodbye.